Hallelujah. So as we start off, Shabbat Shalom, Mama Speed. How you doing?
Shabbat Shalom, doing wonderful.
That's good to hear. Feeling better?
Much better.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
To start, Mama Speed, you right on time. You read Psalms 128 for us? I don't know if you was busy. You still there, Mama Speed? You're on mute if you're talking.
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was just saying, yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'm here. Psalms 128.
Yes, on the screen if you need it.
Yeah, I can't see that. I have I don't know why I can't see it really good on the screen, but I see it. Let me see. Yeah, I can expand it. It says, "Blessed is everyone that feareth Yahweh, that walketh in his ways. For thou shalt eat the labor of thine hands. Happy shall thou be, and it shall be well with thee. Thy wife or thy woman shall be a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house. Thy children like olive plants around about the table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed that feareth Yahweh. Yahweh shall bless thee out of Zion, and thou shalt see the good of Jerusalem, and all the days of thy life. Yea, thou shalt see the children's children, and shalom upon Israel.
Hallelujah.
Yea, shall thou see the children's children, and shalom upon Israel.
Hallelujah. And that last verse seemed like, it seemed like that's what everybody would want, is to be able to see their children's children and see peace upon their household. But when you think about us, a lot of times that's like one of the hardest things for our people to see. So many of us die young. So many of us never even get to see the children's children, especially when you think about gun violence. Like, I can think of so many people who died with children. Like, one of my best friends died when I was younger in a car accident. And he had daughters who were 10, 11, 12 years old. And when I see his daughters now, they have children. He will be a grandfather, and he never got to see his children's children. It's just one of the things that elude us, and you see as in this Psalms is speaking, is that's a blessing to be able to grow old and see your children's children, and to see peace upon your household, let alone peace upon Israel, which is a nation. When you think of our experience here in America, we've never had peace here. It's always been a survival mode, just trying to get by mentality. Now, financially, that has changed a little bit, because a lot of our people actually today have went on to school and got good jobs, and we're starting to learn that that does not just give you peace, because it's still not peace. Thy wife should be a fruitful vine. This was really the verse that I was looking for in this, and this word for vine here is a tree. Thy wife should be a fruitful tree by the sides of thine house, meaning, and the tree is the strength of the house, right? The tree is and this day the tree is probably what's holding the house up, is not necessarily a tree, but um wood. There's a good chance that's what's holding the house up. Our children like olive plants, and we know that the olive tree is representation of Israel. uh Round about that table, he's like, the children is going to be, the good olive fruit, which is what's used to ancient Israel. They would use olives for the anointment, or the ointment, I should say, to anoint people, priests, and the kings. King David would have been anointed, I believe, with olives. and so on and so forth. We're going to come back to that tree because it's something that Abiyah is about to say about it being a tree. And the blessing is to be a fruitful tree. You shall eat the labor of thine hands. We don't do that today. Um, you think of all of our inventions and creations and even the industries that we are the head of, um, especially when you think of entertainment, like, yeah, we make some money, you know. Um, Financially, some of our people have gotten better, like I said, but we still don't run we aren't the top earners in the industry that we are the top workers in. Um, and that's really by our own doing, especially now. I can understand 30, 40, 50 years ago when a lot of this music, I say even 60, 70 years ago when a lot of this music was picking up and, to get these printing presses and the right publishing houses and different things to put your music out when it was a more of a tangible thing. Okay, I can understand for that lack of knowledge, us not being able to do certain things. And ironically, when you watch the James Brown movie, he was one of the people way back then that was standing on that. I tell my wife all the time, the actor Chadwick Boseman who died. I pray I say his name right, but who was the Black Panther? He's typically known for his movie, The Black Panther. Yet my favorite role I've ever seen of him is when he played James Brown in Get Up or whatever it was called. And I remember in that movie, he was standing on his manager, like, nah, I ain't giving them people my publishing. And it was something he was fighting over that artists today still give over. But James Brown kept it and had made a lot of money keeping it. And you just think of that, like, I can see back then maybe being fooled, but today with the internet, you don't even really need a label like to make some money. Now, you may need one to go international, maybe. I noticed that rapper out of Oakland named La Russell. He's fighting that now. If you hear him speak, his whole thing is when he talks to labels, they tell him basically you can make some money being independent on the internet, but if you want to go international, they be playing him like they need him. And uh and he makes some decent songs. Some of them ratchet, some of them are thought provoking too, though, right? But what I do respect about him is when you see him do his interviews, he always says that he's trying to show these labels now that no, I don't need you to go international. And I respect anybody that's willing to pick up that fight. And the point I'm making is it's easier to make a buzz, make a name, and even make some money off of yourself now with the internet, or at least you would think that, right? Yet so many of us still sign it all over. and that's kind of what and that's kind of what that's talking about. You shall eat the labor of thine hands. Like a blessing is to be able to eat the labor of thine hands, yet in these industries we're in, we're not. You think of football. Football is another prime example. Yeah, some millionaires in the NFL. Them owners is making tons of billions. Like when you hear them do the collective bargaining deal with the NFL, you always hear the players complaining. The owners won't even open up all the books. The players don't even know how much money the NFL make. At least in the NBA, they force the owners to open it up and they get paid more money. But even them getting paid more money, you still getting pennies on the dollar. The Lakers is a prime example of that. Like the Lakers will pay like LeBron James $45 million this year, right? But then when you look at the team and what the Lakers team gross, the Lakers team might gross like 700, 800 million. None of which is possible without LeBron James. He not even getting 10% of the growth. They giving you like 3%, but to a people who've been here in captivity, going through slavery, coming through Jim Crow, 40 million is like, wow, but it's still pennies on the dollar for something that's not even possible without you. And that's what that means. But verse 4 says, behold, that thus shall the man be blessed that fear Yah. And that's kind of what all of these is about. Trying to get the proper fear of the Most High back, trying to get the proper understanding. This first verse, blessed is everyone that fear Yah. It don't matter who you is. It don't matter what nation you from. It don't matter what color of skin you are, man or woman or child. Um, it does not matter. If you fear Yah, you got a chance. You'll catch a lot of people telling you, well, Esau this and the Edomite, because Esau was Jacob's twin brother and Esau sold the covenant. And Yah did say Esau, I don't believe the scripture ever said Esau would be cursed, but Yah said like Esau is going to be part of the fall of this world, right? That's a fact. But Yah also gave us examples through Job, which is considered, most people consider Job to be, which is the book of Job. I know I mentioned that to my brother. He should read the book of Job. It kind of reminds me of some of the things he goes through. But Job wasn't Israel. Job was an Edomite. Most people believe he was an Edomite. He was Esau. Yet when you read the book of Job, the Most High said Job was the most, if not the most, one of the most righteous men on the planet at that time. And Yah said he blessed him abundantly because of that. He blessed him abundantly because of that. And that's part of another reason why we have to stay focused on what we own. Blessed is everyone that fears the Most High. And the word here for fear is not just about fearing the Most High. Fear is about reverence. As you see, reverent. I had that highlighted. Oh, that's yellow. I must have highlighted that a long time ago. But it says feeling or showing deep and solemn respect. So it ain't just fear, showing respect. Prime example. The Most High said, thou shalt not steal. So aside from the fact that we all been raised to know that stealing is wrong, right? But aside from that fact, because I fear the Most High, because I respect him on that level, I'll never steal. And I know most of us is whether it's a mother, a father, a grandmother, or a grandfather, all of us have one person in our life who you will die before you disrespect. Growing up for me, it was my mother, but it was especially my grandmother. And we should have that same reverence for the Most High. The Most High said we should show love to our brother. Don't be shisty, basically. Don't be scheming. Um, um, you know, and because we fear him, we do that because we respect him on that level. Blessed is everyone that respect, reverent, on the forefront too. No matter what the people around me doing, everybody could be doing X, Y, Z. But if y'all say ABC, I'm standing on ABC. That's all I can do. Even if everybody around me is doing X, Y, Z. That's the courage that we pray for because it's peer pressure and there's pressure in that. He says, blessed is everyone that fear the Most High Yah, that walk in his ways. And in his ways is the instruction. The word Bible, when you hear people say Torah, that just means instruction. The Bible is a book of instructions of how we should live our life. And it's a history book about a people that Yah chose. Look, y'all gonna show the world how they should live their life. So the book is full of, now you have books like Proverbs or even Leviticus, that's strict instruction. But then a lot of the rest of the book is just examples of, I said do this person did it right, I blessed him like this. Then you also have in the Bible, which is a book of instructions, I said do this person did it wrong, and this is how he was punished. And depending on how egregious his wrong was, he might have died. But it also shows so much of the mercy of Yah, right? Because even in a lot of the wrongs that we'll see the Most High give a person this chance, this chance, this chance, this chance, and then depending on how we live our lives, eventually it could lead to death. Prime example of that is Pharaoh. I know a lot of people know the story about Moses. Pharaoh wasn't Israel. And we think about the 10 plagues of Egypt. So the frogs came out and took over the city, and then all the dust on the ground turned into lice. It said that people had dust from on food they had ate. It was lice coming out of people's mouths, out of their stomach. It was so much lice, right? He turned all the water into blood. It said that, so the people was going down to the Nile River, I'm assuming, to get water. They would put it in the big pitchers, right? It was people who had already went and got water from the river and had pitchers of water sitting in their house. And when Yah told Moses to stick the staff in the water in the river and turn it into blood, it said that the pitchers of water in people's houses turned into blood. You ain't even had to go get no water. The water you had stored up, like me and Shelly, we keep an excess of water stored up. Like, I think about that. Like, can I imagine if I went in my garage and one day all of that water in the bottles was turned into blood? But in those plagues was the mercy of Yah. because after every plague, Yah gave Pharaoh a chance to say, you know what? Y'all God is the right God. Israel, y'all the chosen people, which they knew because they had a history of Israel from Joseph being there, Jacob being there. They knew, but they was not ignorant to that fact. You got a chance, Pharaoh. Let these people go. Now it says that Yah hardened his heart. But the reason why Yah hardened his heart is because Pharaoh already had it in his heart. I ain't helping these niggas. And I use that term whole time. I hate that I use that term so much still, but I use that term because we talk about who is Israel today. And that's how the world looks at Israel today. Whenever it's like, we need to do right by these people. Every time. We need to do right by these people, whether it was slavery, whether it's Jim Crow. Like in America, when slavery ended, the United States government paid the slave owners reparations for losing wages due to not having free slave labor no more. They paid the slave owners. That is history. That's a fact. Whenever that conversation come up, like, well, what y'all gonna do about all these slaves who you done oppressed? We ain't doing nothing for them niggas. And that's Democrat and Republican. We not giving them no money. Both parties. We not giving them no money. That's how that go. That's how they speak about it. When the police kill an unarmed black man, it'd be like, so what? Those are the traits of Israel, the same way Pharaoh was talking to Moses. But then when everything go bad, what do they do in America? Prime example, everybody was worried about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he gonna win, Donald Trump. What was everybody around her doing? Black people, we need y'all to vote, especially black women. We need you, black women. I remember after Donald Trump lost that election to Joe Biden, every news channel was on black women just saved America. Yet they won't even get the health care right for black women. More black women giving birth to babies than any other nation of people here. That's what y'all mean. So y'all showing us in all of that that it don't matter how much we come up here, how much money we rise in the government. Think it'd have been a black president, and I'm just using the term because that's how they term it. It's been black presidents, it's a black vice president, it's black Supreme Court justices. Like black people that made it to the highest offices of this land. Yet still they keep our people on the bottom. We still lack health care. We lack opportunity in our neighborhoods. We lack funding to our schools, HBCUs, and on the local level with high schools and all of that. We knew that growing up. I remember growing up in the 90s in high school, like we went to our library at Joliet Central. I remember there was a couple computers in there. I remember my senior years when they were starting to get like American Online and all of that, where you could first start to go on the internet. Now I remember it used to be strict to do that. Like you had to put in a whole permit slip and this and that and tell them what you was studying and all of that to go in there and use the American Online. I remember writing my senior paper. I went in there and was able to get on the internet for the first time. But I was also blessed that my grandmother, with the job that she worked where I was living, the job had put them on it and they was on it. So I had internet at home in 98, 99. Like I know Shelly's family had it, but almost nobody else I knew had the internet and not at home. My cousins them had it because they daddy was a techie like that. But like nobody had that. But then I would talk to people we knew outside of our school district who went to some of these suburban schools or the private Catholic schools around. Man, they was like, man, the library full of computers. Everybody go in there and go online. It's all, but now Joliet Central was in the hood though. It's on what you call the east side of Joliet, which now they look at the whole, back then it was like certain parts of the east side is bad. Now when you hear these people talk about Joliet, it's like the entire east side just smoke. They underfund the schools, the opportunities in the hood, all of that. All of that. That's government. That's been like that. That's Jim Crow. You look down in Mississippi, the water, Flint. Flint has a large population of minorities. If I'm not mistaken, Jackson, Mississippi may be the blackest city in America, I believe they say. There's no coincidence that that and Flint, two of the most African American populated cities in America, ain't got no water. and they not trying to fix it. Yet they kicking up dust about that train that just derailed in Ohio, East Palestine. I had to look it up. That city got like a couple thousand people at best. That city is small. It's not even a city. That's like a village, really. They kicking up dust because I looked at. See, I don't know why y'all made my mind like that, but I looked at the demographic. East Palestine, Ohio, is like 93% white. You see it all over the news. Ain't nobody died though. You don't even see them talk about Jackson, Mississippi on the news. It's what? Jackson, Mississippi got to have a couple 100,000 people living there. But they like, we ain't doing nothing for them niggas. Don't nobody care because you ain't got no water. They on Joe Biden back about that train that went off the track in East Palestine. There's 2,000 people in the whole city. Ain't nobody died. And that's leading the news every night. Where's Joe Biden? Why he ain't been to East Palestine? Why ain't nobody been to Jackson, Mississippi? And that's what these scriptures is talking about. No matter how hard y'all try there, it ain't until we consider the ways of the Most High. First, we have to consider who is Israel. And that's why these prophets has been, in my opinion, profitable. If nothing else from these prophets we were reading, what you should take from it is it's showing us markers. It's giving us it's telling us who would be Israel, because in the prophets it's like, y'all gonna go through this, you gonna go through that, you gonna go through this. And if we take this word to be true, if we take the Bible to be the word of God, as they say, the Most High, and it's 100% true, then who is these people that is describing? That means that this has to come to pass. And we can track the history of it. It's only one people that fit it. It's other people, other spots don't get it, but it's one people that everybody know who fit it. Because if don't nobody know nothing in this world, the whole world know about the transatlantic slave trade. You hear it all the time. When America be telling the Chinese, y'all doing them Muslims in that Uruguay camp, y'all re-educating them and taking their rights and doing this to them and doing this to them. What do the Chinese say? Y'all don't say that when y'all treat them black people like that. During World War II, when they was over there tripping with Hitler, you doing this and doing that to the Jews in the Holocaust and woo woo. What was Hitler saying? Y'all don't say nothing about them black people y'all treating like that. Everybody know. I'm so serious. Everybody know. When they was in Vietnam, the Viet Cong was like, y'all don't say that about them black people y'all treating like that. Everybody know. That's how I know everybody know. Because when you look at the history of the wars in America, hell, going back to the late 1700s, the American Revolution, when we fought when they fought the British, because they was like, no taxation without representation. The colonies then, it wasn't even America country. They were sending money back to England to the Queen or the King, whoever was there, yet they weren't represented in Parliament there. So the American Revolution was the settlers here was like, we got to break from this and create our own government. We sending them taxes and they ain't representing us, right? Back then, a slave couldn't fight in the war. The British was sending messages over here to the slaves saying, if you come fight for the British in the American Revolution, we'll give you your freedom. Then George Washington said, okay, we're going to let some slaves fight. See, it's a history of this. And what the Most High is saying is, with all that being said, if you come back to me, you good. And that's what these prophets is showing. If you don't come to me, like I said, these prophets are showing two things. They're showing what's happening in real time, in their time. It's showing, if you do this the right way, this is how it'll go. If you do this the wrong way, this is how it's going to go. And as you go further in the Bible, you're going to realize it's going to say, Israel, you done did this the wrong way. Capped off by when we killed the Messiah. When it was Israel's in there in front of the Romans saying, kill this black man. Same thing we do today. Kanye got to talking about the Jews. It was black people running around saying, man, they should take Kanye deals. They should take Kanye money. That's what black folks was running around saying about Kanye. But what he said about another nation of people, that's the equivalent of a bunch of black Jews standing in front of Pilate, a European Roman, saying, kill this man because he say he the son of God. That's how it went. It's the same thing. See, when you learn the history of it, it's like, wow, that's the same thing. And that's what these prophecies is showing. If you do it wrong, this is how it's gonna go. And when we read through the Bible, when we get to the new, because we all know that story. I tell you, the Most High is so amazing what He done did. Because even the non-believers of our people who will tell you the Bible fake and all that, everybody done heard the story of the Messiah. It's the most told. It's the most told story on the planet. Not only just Black people, the entire world know that story. The entire world celebrate Christmas. Now, whether they celebrate Jesus' birthday or not, which that's not his birthday, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is the entire world celebrated though, so they are aware what it's supposed to stand for. Now, it really stands for what it do. It's a Hallmark holiday to get your money. But the entire world, Muslims, Asians, they celebrate Christmas all in Sri Lanka and everywhere. The Most High made sure everybody knew that story. So that now as things are starting to come into play, we can see it like, man, that's exactly what he was saying. Look at us. A bunch of Black Jews stood in front of a European Roman and said, kill this Black man because he say he the son of God. That's the same thing we do today. We just watched it with Kanye on a major scale, but we see it every day in the hood. We see it every day amongst our people. I was thinking earlier, before this started, I was just meditating on all of this and praying, right? And I was thinking like, man, I know a lot of Black people who get jobs who say they would rather have a white boss than a Black boss because the Black boss be the worst boss because he be in there trying to do too much to impress the Europeans. That's sad. That's the same flick. I know Black men, when they go to court, will rather stand in front of a white judge than a Black judge because a Black judge be on the Black men harder than the white judge. And we seen that with that case when that police officer killed that man, that Black man down in Texas. That Black woman judge hugged that white woman when they found her guilty for murder or whatever they gave her. I guarantee that same Black woman ain't hugged damn Black man, and she shouldn't know. But she ain't hugged nobody Black who been in there and been charged with no murder, though. I guarantee that. That's a marker. That's a marker. Because when you read the Bible, this is describing a people who always done did that to each other. As we humble our hearts and go into prayer, and we start off with that because that's kind of where we going today. We just say hallelujah, Todah Rabbah, which is thank you in Hebrew to the Most High Yah, for blessing us all to see another day, for bringing us together. I say Todah Rabbah for Ma'ak Yekemya and Yahusha for another great reading earlier. I thank y'all for allowing me to attend that with you and your family. It always helps me get my day started, get the Ruach flowing. Hallelujah. Todah Rabbah to y'all for all of you who have prayed and read in here and just bringing us together to fellowship together. This is just a read. There is no big eyes or little U's in here. And we thank Abba Yah for just keeping us in the right mind frame to grow. As he says, we are all parts of the body. Nobody is greater than the next. And we are all seeking to do right by the Most High. We thank him for that understanding. We thank him for humbling us, for showing us the right way forward and letting us know that it's time for that. When we look at what's going on around us, Abiyah, we see you at work and we see that everything else has failed and is going to fail. You're not going to allow us to make it out of here of our own accord, because when we do that, as this book shows us, as your word shows us, Israel get too cocky and they forget about the Most High. That's how we got in this spot. So this last time you said, no, I'm going to put you in a position where your only way out is to honor me. And we thank you for putting that on our hearts, for showing us that, Abiyah, for giving us the wherewithal to pay attention, to try to adjust. We strive for your perfection, Abiyah. We know that it's a work in progress, but we thank you for being patient and having mercy on us as we strive. I pray that you forgive us all of our sins and cleanse us, Father Yah. As you say, you'll forgive who you choose to forgive. And with that forgiving, Father Yah, I just pray that you put it on our hearts to read your Torah, which is your instructions, or the Bible more, to learn your ways, to apply as much of it as to our life as we can, Abiyah, and to just put our first foot forward with you in all things, and to give you all that we have to give. In the name of our Messiah, Yahushua, we give you all honor, glory, and praise continually. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Shalom, Obadiah.
Shalom, Ak.
Shalom. So, Hosea, Hosea. We done made it to chapter 10. We almost at the end of this. Next in the next in the but as we next in the process of this is either Micah or Isaiah. I've been kind of reading them both. Which if you've read Isaiah especially or Micah, like they aren't the easiest reads. But in the timeline of what we're doing, um, they kind of come next as we've been reading Hosea and even Amos. As the nation after Solomon, Israel was split into two nations, or not two nations, but two kingdoms. I guess is the best word. Out of the 12 tribes, you had 10 of them what they consider the northern tribes, and then you have two, which is Judah and Benjamin, in the south. Now, within the mix of that, you had Israelites. You had Israelites living amongst everywhere, so it's not just restricted to Judah and Benjamin in the south. You had all the tribes. It probably had different people living down there. We know from Judges it was a priest they made a man from Judah a priest of these fake temples that they done built that angered Yah. Just showing you that it's just because these tribes have been separated like that, it's not exclusive to people living in certain areas. With that being said, Hosea is within range of the 10 northern tribes falling and going because they go into captivity about 100 years before the Babylonians burned down Jerusalem. So in the timeline, during Micah and during Isaiah, their books start with the 10 northern tribes are still there. But in the process of both of those books is when the 10 northern tribes fall. So they would be next in succession. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. If any of you want to like read forward, the prophet Micaiah and then the prophet Isaiah, which the prophet Isaiah is a really big book. We'll probably end up doing them both. I just ain't figured out which one we're going to do next because we're almost at the end of this. This is 14 chapters. We may finish this next week. I don't know. I don't really know. But it's not like Ariel done got in trouble. But hallelujah. With that being said, as we start Hosea chapter 10, and this is why that vine was important to me in Psalms 128, because he said your wife will be a fruitful vine. But then when we get here, and remember, this prophecy is speaking of what's going on then, or what's to come then, but also when you see the word prophecy, a prophecy is not restricted to one event. So like, yeah, he's talking to Israel and he's telling them y'all gonna fall into captivity, which they all did. The northern tribe within 30, 40 years of this, give or take. The southern tribes within 80, 90 to 100 years of this, give or take. But it's also speaking about today because we've fallen into captivity again and the prophecy still applies because ain't nothing new under the sun. So the same reason we fell into captivity then, we've fallen into captivity now. And that's the markers of this. So when you get to Hosea chapter 10, verse 1, he says, Israel is an empty vine. And we see the word vine here again, meaning a tree. The word here for empty is, matter of fact, Israel is an empty vine. He bring forth fruit unto himself. So he bringing forth fruit, but it's not the fruit of Yah. That's what makes it empty, right? That's what makes it void, because he's bringing forth fruit. He looked good, but it's not the fruit that we were called to bring. We were called to bring forth the fruit of the Most High Yah, as we were called to be the light of the world, to show this world, to represent in this world how to follow the Most High, how to get closer to the Most High. So it says he bring forth fruit unto himself. according to the multitude of his fruit, he have increased his altars. So because of this fruit that he bring forth to himself, not righteous fruits of the Most High, but the fruit of we gonna do what we want to do. We gonna live how like the people around us. We don't care nothing about speaking about these people in this time. We don't care nothing about what the Most High done told Moses, and because that's who they would be looking back to, Moses and King David, even Solomon to an extent. We don't care nothing about what the Most High done told them. We gonna do it this way because we see these nations around us doing good based off of how they living. So we want to live like them. And it says, according to the goodness of his land, they have made goodly images. And those goodly images, he's talking about idols. He's talking about the worship of other gods, right? Beautiful, what they deem as successful or right. But the images is a memorial, a stone, an idol. And first and foremost, when I was reading this verse, it made me think about what they say about us with church today, with religion. Um, when you come through, when you go through with a quote unquote a black neighborhood, if you don't see nothing, you see a liquor store and a church on every other corner, if not every corner, right? I remember they used to always say that when we was growing up. And these are the altars because I don't know about as much now, but especially when we were growing up, churches where all the successful black people went. That's where everybody who I know for us when I was growing up, that's who you looked at as all of the as the hard working black people who done made it and um who have brought forth fruit to themselves, meaning working, school, they got it figured out. You know, a lot of times when you're growing up, especially growing up poor, people with money, you feel like they got it figured out. But that's not the fruit that Yah's talking about. And he said, because of this fruit, they didn't increase altars. And that's what we do with church and religion. We didn't increase altars. We didn't, because that's what they tell you. You know, in Jesus' name, we did this and we did that, and you know, we throw that out there, right? But yet, that's not profitable fruit, and we see that today with the way our young folks is, because all of those people who we watch do that, which by the law of the Bible were not 100% locked into what was righteous at all. But the representation of that, the reason why we see that now is the children. Because now when you look at the children and the grandchildren, it's it's more reckless than it's ever been, which is Yah's way of showing us these altars ain't work. And I bring up Martin Luther King or not, because he really blew that up in this modern era, I guess you would say. Yet towards the end of his life, he started saying that I feel like I have walked my people into a burning building. He realized it, like, this is not how that's supposed to go. My dream, I'm saying, that's not right. And it's not. And once again, when I speak about the people who oppress our people, whenever our people get too unruly or get to trying to stand up for something and go against the narrative of what they tell us you can stand for, which is how I go now. Now it's to the point now to where society tries to tell you what you can stand for, right? But whenever somebody bucks that and goes, the first thing they do is throw Martin Luther King in his face. You should be like Martin Luther King. You should be more like Martin Luther King. He this and he had a dream. And that's why they celebrate him so much, because they want us all to be like Martin Luther King. No matter what you stand for, let us run this high-powered hose on you and sick these dogs on you and go home and be happy when we throw pennies at you and give you an inch. You ain't getting a mile. We don't even give you an inch. We give you the right to vote. Like our people was doing all that for a right to vote, that in a lot of states, they making it hard again for you to vote. Georgia, prime example. Georgia is a prime example. Where Martin Luther King was at a lot. He got the church down there. One of the hardest states for an African American to vote, because in the areas where African Americans is at, which is the most populated areas of Georgia, let that be known. What they do is they take the polling places. So polling places is supposed to be based off how many people live in a specific area. So what they do down there, Kemp and the governor before him, Purdue, not Purdue, I can't even think of that chump name. But What they do is what they do is the population, how many people live in the area is supposed to dictate how many polling places is in the area to make it easier for everybody to vote. They change the law and they make it where it's only so many polling places. So how they make it harder to vote is now you got your 75-year-old grandmama, 80-year-old grandmama, and they got her standing in line for 10 hours to vote. She probably ain't gonna make it. And you got a lot of the women who stand on line strong. We gonna make it. That's how they make it harder to vote. Gerrymandering as well. They take the map and they say, okay, we gonna carve through the black neighborhood to make the black vote half, and then make it part of this other neighborhood that's bigger where it's more of a mix to make the vote irrelevant. It's a lot of tricks they do with the vote. The point I'm trying to say is they tell us to go be like him. Go get the dog sicked on you for a right to vote that we taking from you now anyway. Through trickery, but we still taking it. We ain't doing nobody else like that. We doing you. We doing you. When you hear these people say, even with the election of Donald Trump, the election was stolen. We want every real vote to count. That's what you would constantly hear them say. What they really saying is we want every white vote to count. These blacks, these Mexicans, they don't even deserve the right to vote, especially these Mexican blacks. But these Mexicans now who done crossed the border, they ain't even really American. They vote shouldn't even count. Martin Luther King realized that, like, we didn't increase these altars. I got my people praying to a European Messiah who is not in the Bible. The Bible say his feet was of polished brass. It specifically say. Martin Luther King realized that. Like, wow. And it wasn't long after that he died. Always makes me believe somebody saw him realize that and was like, okay, he did enough for us. Don't let him change. It's too many of them listen to him. He can't change up now. And he died. And that's what it's talking about. According to the goodness of the land, they have made goodly images, idols. What is the memorials of stone? It says a column, a pillar. What is that? All these crosses you see in front of these churches. The Bible specifically says that the Messiah died on a tree. I know we explained this and a lot of you know this, but what they did with the Messiah was they gave him that crossbeam that he carried. They nailed his hands to it and they put that beam up on a tree and nailed the beam to a tree with him on it. All these crosses we see, these pillars in front of these churches of wood and stone, that's an idol. A, is not real. That's not how he died. They're trying to represent something. That's A. And B, it's an idol. Think when you go to church, they're at the front of every church. You have to go down and bow in front of that cross. It don't seem like that because you're going down. And I remember back in the day, if anybody want to be saved, come down. And what did you do? Your grandmother done made you go down. I ain't on that. Nah, boy, go down there and get saved. As if any man could save you, first off. But you go down there to get saved. And what do you got to do? You got to bow in front of that idol. You got to bow in front of that cross. Where the European Messiah died. That's not Bible, though. The reason why they did that, now I know the cross goes back. It's a European thing. But the main reason why that wasn't taught here is because as they were introducing what we call Christianity to slaves, when our people would be unruly, they would hang them in trees. So not to inspire anything, they could never tell him, well, he really died in a tree. Just like you die in trees. Because that was the Most High showing our people. They like, nah, that ain't true. And you know what? Let me stop for a minute. Because I know we talk about this a lot in here. I have brought something up. I always mention the slave Bible. This is from the History Channel, just to give whatever validation they may need. This is their saying though. It's good to go to their sources. This ain't my opinion. This is what they say about themselves. You feel me? It say the so-called slave Bible told of Joseph's enslavement, but left out the parts where Moses led the Israelites to freedom. This is the slave Bible. It says when slavery was legal, its proponents often justified it with the Bible, which they did. The parts where it say honor your master and different things like that. They were using that out of context to say you should honor this master over a slave. You should honor me raping your daughter. Really? That ain't Bible. But that's how they would use it. It says specifically a verse that tells servants to obey their masters. There were also a lot of verses that abolitionists could and did use to argue against slavery, but you wouldn't find those in the heavily redacted slave Bible. So the abolitionists would use verses to argue against slavery, right? It says, and it's talking about the slave Bible. It says most of the Old Testament is missing. They took it out. And only about half of the New Testament remains. The reason, so that the enslaved Africans in the Caribbean islands of Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua couldn't read or be read anything that might incite them to rebel. This is what they gave the slaves as they were introducing them to Christianity. The slave Bible was actually titled Parts of the Holy Bible Selected for the Negro Slaves in British West India Islands. It's not clear who exactly directed these changes. British planters in the Caribbean had long been weary of missionaries and could have demanded that they only teach enslaved people parts of the Bible, but some missionaries may have also believed that it was only appropriate to teach enslaved people excerpts that reinforce their enslaved status. That's a fact. It says whoever the slave Bible's editors were, they are really highlighting portions that would instill obedience. This is what this dude says about the Bible. As you go down, it says, no, did I skip something? No. It says, the first slave Bible was published in 1807, 3 years after the Haitian Revolution ended. That revolution was the only slave revolt in history in which enslaved people successfully drove out their European oppressors. That's why Haiti is what it is today. The Europeans have never forgiven the Haitians for being the only people to win their revolution. And that's why, as you see Haiti look like it do today, you don't never hear no nations talking about they going to help Haiti. Nobody. You don't even hear the African nations say that for fear that the European nations would tell them, if you help Haiti, we ain't helping you no more. They were the only ones who drove out the Europeans and formed a new nation. And it increased American and European paranoia that the people they oppressed will one day rise up against them. The Haitian Revolution could have been a motivation for publishing a Bible without the part where Moses tells Pharaoh to let my people go. Missionaries and planters may have thought that Christianity, at least certain parts of it, would protect against revolutions by teaching enslaved people to respect their masters, which the Bible do say respect your master. But what the Bible is saying is respect those who Yah sent you to teach you about Yah. Not who beating you with no whip and got you in no cotton field. In this context, Schmidt says the British may have thought that teaching enslaved people biblical lessons about obedience and accepting one's fate would help them be better slaves, which is the same thing they do today. Be like Martin Luther King. It's worse now because they'll tell you should honor whatever we do to you here. Would you rather be here or be in Africa? And then they make sure on the news and in these movies, they show you the part of Africa that's toe up. Would you rather be here whole time? If you know anything about Africa, man, Africa actually pretty decent. Like everywhere ain't toe up. It's parts of Africa that don't come nowhere near the death that Chicago see every day, every year. But you wouldn't know that. Because would you rather be here? I'd have heard people tell people that. Would you rather be here or would you rather be in Africa? The slave Bible doesn't include Moses leading Israel to freedom. I think that's one of the most important stories. That's probably one of the most popular stories in the whole Bible is Moses leading the Israelites to freedom. They took that out the slave Bible. No slave need to know he did that. But it does include Joseph enslavement. In the U.S., some sermons aimed at enslaved people portray Joseph as someone who accepts his lot in life, keeps his faith in God, and in the end is rewarded for it. That's what they was telling you. Be like Joseph. Be like Joseph. Accept being a slave. God gonna bless you in the end. That's how they was teaching it. And then it goes on further. But I felt I should read that because I mentioned the slave Bible a lot. That comes back to these fruits to ourselves and these altars. This is all based off of the slave Bible teaching. Because know this, when you see a pastor in these churches, he has to go be ordained. He has to go to seminaries. And these colleges and these seminaries where you get ordained is still primarily owned by the people who oppressed us. I don't know of no, which it wouldn't matter anyway, because the doctrine is the doctrine. But I don't know of no other seminary other than, and if you trace the history of some of these colleges where people go for these seminaries, they trace back to the early 1900s, late 1800s. They trace back to that time. So when they give you Christianity, they teach you a doctrine. So when you go to be a pastor, when you go to a seminary or to be ordained, they teach you, look, you got to teach the Bible like this, and they give you a slave Bible doctrine. So although we had a whole Bible now, that's how you get the Old Testament done away with. See, that's how they do it now. You got the whole book, but the Old Testament done away with. Don't worry about that. If you go talk to a lot of our elders who still in the religion and you get to read from the Old Testament, they'll tell you like that's done away with. Jesus came and created a new covenant, and we, as long as we do this and that in his name, no, none of that matter. Revelations is about the church. God is coming back to restore Christianity. What you mean restore? Christianity ain't failed. Matter of fact, it's bigger than it's ever been, actually. And that's where it's at. So even though it ain't a slave Bible, these altars we done built today, it's the doctrine. So now you got, like I say, Martin Luther King, and became one of the most popular pastors in the history of this world. Martin Luther King may be the most popular pastor preacher in the history of the world. No, real talk. Like you hearing these dudes, these Benny Hinn's and Kenneth Copelands, yeah, they all big. Ain't none of them world renowned like Martin Luther King. Think about Martin Luther King's birthday. They be all in Germany talking about Martin Luther King. Japan, Russia, everywhere. Everybody wish him a happy birthday, because when he started out, he was telling black folks, honor this European Messiah, and our dream is to live with them. But then at the end of his life, he was like, I don't know about that. Hey, Martin Luther King was on, I don't know about that. I don't know what y'all on. They had to silence him. No, you can't go back now. You can't go back now. We don't give Malcolm X no credit. Why? Because he never was on that. From the beginning, he was on, nah, black people, it's time to band together. It's time for, no, that ain't, no. You got to go to these altars where we teach you how to teach the Bible. And part of it is the Old Testament is done away with. The slave Bible, don't worry about Moses. Matter of fact, in a lot of cases, you ain't even got to worry about the Gospels, man. Do what Paul said, because Paul is the part that's most misinterpreted. The New Testament, the letters of Paul, that tell you, honor your master, so you got to honor us. The doctrine of religion is still teaching a slave Bible. And now as we've been reading these prophets, we see why. Why? Because the prophecies is giving us the marker. Who is these people? Verse 2. Verse 2 say, their heart is divided. The word here for divided. So mind you, he's describing, he's telling what's about to happen, but he's describing the people, right? Their heart is divided. They just separated themselves. As you see, the word here for divided is kalak in Hebrew. They just separated themselves from who? The Most High. Now shall they be found faulty. The word here for faulty. Asham. They should be found guilty. They're going to be destroyed. He shall break down their altars. He shall spoil their images. They just separated themselves from Yah, and they've been found faulty. They're guilty. They're being destroyed. Who? Who? Who is that? It's only one nation of people on this planet that don't have a nation. That's us. We the only people on this planet they call a color. They don't even call Africans black. Africans that migrate here. Barack Obama is a prime example. He don't allow nobody to just call him black. Think about his speeches. He would always say the African American don't need this, need that, in a they sense. He don't call himself that. He knew his father. I'm Kenyan. I ain't black. No, I'm Kenyan. When you hear these Nigerians be over here, these Nigerians really be cocky. They don't allow nobody to call them black. They tell you. Prime example, the comedian Godfrey. He's super prideful. I'm Nigerian. Dude who be rapping now, Tobe and Gagwe or whatever. He's super prideful. I'm Nigerian. I heard Godfrey make a joke before. He said he was doing in some meeting, and they was playing him on he was black. It was either him or Toby Gagway. One of them made a joke and was like, he was in a meeting with somebody and they was playing him on he was black. And he told him, no, I ain't just regular black. I know who I am. The Most High talking about a nation here, man. But see, they teach us over here at school, you African American, everything black in Africa is brothers. No, it ain't. Africans don't look at it like that. Absolutely not. You got 4, 5 different tribes live right in Nigeria, and every tribe don't mess. Some of them tribes over there be like, you can't marry them, and everybody black. Man, you got tribes in Africa right now who will tell their daughter, you can't marry nobody from that tribe, and everybody black, because it ain't about color, it's about blood. Who is you? By blood. Akon do that all the time. It's funny because when Akon was really going hard with his music and he needed African Americans to support him to get rich, you ain't never used to hear him say nothing. Now that he rich and you see him do interviews, he always makes sure to make distinction between what he is and an African American. Seen him the other day say, man, African Americans too caught up in the race, man. They still he did that interview with Vlad like a year or two ago, man. They still too woo. Something about race and African American. Boy, they done oppressed our people and stole everything from us. That should be the starting point with every African American. Not meaning that should dominate your life till you don't do nothing, but these people do owe us. So if you want to stand on that, more power to you. We built the greatest nation in the world for free. That's a fact, and everybody know it. That's what the Viet Cong was saying. That's what Hitler was saying. That's what the British was saying in the 1700s. They was telling the slaves, you built this for free. Come fight for us. They won't even let you fight for them. George Washington them then changed the law that a slave could fight for whatever they was calling themselves yet, because it wasn't America yet. I don't even know what the settlers, I guess. I don't know. The colonies. I don't know what they was called. I don't really care about it. Reason why that was possible? Because their heart is divided. They just separated themselves from Yah. So they'd have been found guilty. And when you read scriptures, all that's part of the punishment. If you get found guilty, you going on slave ships, you gonna work for them people and not get paid right. They gonna kill you and leave you in the streets and find you not guilty. You gonna lose your heritage. You gonna forget the Most High. You gonna forget where you from. You ain't never coming back as a nation. Now, them ain't all in one book. Them spread out through the scriptures, but that's everything that Yah tells them to tell to us. If you thought, and we know in scripture, he tells us, y'all done broke bad. The final stand was you killed my son who came to help you. And when you killed him, you said, when you read the New Testament, they said, let his blood be on our hands and on our children. And the Most High Yah said, bet. Because you got to be a man of your word. Because Yah is a man of his word. He's not a man, he's the Elohim, but he's of his word, won't go out void. So if everything I say to you is true, Israel, then everything you say to me, I'm honoring. And we said that. Our ancestors said that. And look at how it's been ever since. Jerusalem fell in 70 AD. This is history. You can look this up. The Romans came back and sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD, about 30, 40 years after the death of the Messiah. And Jerusalem has never been black ever since. That was the end of it. Go look at the old paintings and all of that from 200, 300, 400, Rome, Russia, all of that. All the paintings is brown-skinned messiahs, man. Real talk. This is a history. You can look that up. But what do they do over here? Go be a rapper. Go be a basketball player. Don't worry about going to school. Don't educate yourself about no history. Who cares about that? So without the Most High Yah stepping in and saying, look, this is what it do, we would never know. We would never know. And that's what it's about. It's about you never knowing. Verse 3, for now they shall say, we have no king because we fear not Yah. What then should a king do to us? We fear not Yah. Remember, fear is reverence, respect. It's the same thing with this awakening now. You got a lot of people who say that they Hebrew Israelites who in talk is like, yeah, fear Yah and do this and do that. Yet on the backside of that, they doing contrary to Yah. That's exactly what remember, these people in these prophecies, they not a lost people who don't know who they are like we are today. They know they Israel. They know Moses is somebody granddaddy. They know Moses is somebody uncle. They know King David is somebody cousin. Oh, they know that. By the time you get here, they know the prophet Elijah. I don't know if he had brothers and sisters. I don't believe he had children. He's somebody cousin, though, nephew. They know that. Same as, and that's the equivalent of these people, of our people now who done awoke to this. We the Hebrews of the Bible. Okay, cool. But then it go off to the left or the right and tell you any old thing. We have no king because we fear not Yah. Yeah, we knew Yah. We understand what he's saying. We may even say what he said. But are we doing what he say? Remember, faith without works is dead. We can say anything. That's why that in the name of Jesus, all this and that. That's why that's false. The Bible specifically says faith without works. And the funny thing about Yah, I promise you, because even with this slave Bible doctrine, right in the parts of the Bible that are taught in the religious doctrine is where that's at. That's Paul. Faith without works is dead. Study to show thyself approved. Peter, all scripture is given by inspiration. That's in the parts that the religion teaches to read. But when you get to that part, it's like, yeah, don't worry about that. Just the New Testament. No, faith without works is dead. Israelites today do this. Man, yeah, we the people, and we should do this and we should do that, and woo, 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 and turn right around and be gossiping about each other. That goes against Yah. Ain't no gossiping about your brother. If you feel a way towards your brother, you pull your brother to the side and you holler at your brother or your sister. If you in ancient times, if you couldn't figure it out like that, then you went in front of the congregation because there is no congregation now. You have some of these Israelites act like they just take it off on YouTube in front of the congregation. That ain't no congregation. That's a lie. Because there is no congregation now. The best thing you could do is just separate from somebody. This scripture right here is a prophecy of the Messiah also, though. What was they saying in the New Testament? John the Baptist was like the king here, the lamb here, the son of the Most High. What was they saying? We ain't got no king. What should a king do to us? What kind of king is he? He ain't come to free us. Remember, they looking for a king. They looking for King David. Somebody said that to me one day, and it was I felt them. They said part of the reason why the Pharisees didn't feel the Messiah because the prophecy was a king was coming. So they looking for King David, Solomon, in all his splendor. He a humble man, son of a carpenter. He come through humble, man. Right? And that's the same thing our people do today. You could be somewhere in some sweats and a t-shirt and tell somebody the realest thing they ever heard, and they gonna look at you like, man, look how he dressed. We ain't listening to him. You could walk in with 4-5 gold chains and some Gucci on and say the dumbest thing we ever heard, and they'd be like, bet we doing what he said. You see, it's working for him. It's the same. I tell you, boy, when you read this Bible, and we the only people do that. We the only people do that. Can't nobody in no other nation, just because he dressed right, go in and tell a room full of European. You want to know how? Because all of the billionaires dress like bums. Pajama rich, regular. They wearing Skechers and Levi's worth 40 billion. That's how I know that's a lot. We the only people do that. We the only people do that. Somebody could walk in with a few gold chains, pull up in a Rolls Royce. He can hop out and say the dumbest thing you ever heard, and the most of the crowd gonna say, "We following that. It's working for him." He got the Benz, he got the Rollie. What they hold in that letter tray? He got the Rollie on. He sound like a fool whenever he opened his mouth. But because he got a Rollie, man, we got to do that. Somebody could come through dressed humbly and be like, "No, we ain't on that, man. You know, we need to turn back to this and quit chasing that and quit killing each other." It's like, dude, you a bum. I ain't listening to you. We the only people do that. We the only where I'm at, the Mexicans, because see, one thing about where we're at when you talk about the Latin community, you have these Americanized Latins who fly flashy, really look just be trying to dress and look just like us, right? But then you got the other Mexicans who look like they fresh from Mexico, cowboy boots, hats, rodeos, do all of that. I grew up around a lot of Latins. Whenever I talk to them, they always tell me, homie, them in the cowboy boots and all that is the richest Mexicans. But you wouldn't know that because you, when we see them and when the young boys see them, it's the young ones with them in the Benz and with the chains and it's fresh that you want to be like. It's the same with them too. Difference with them is they know about the one in the cowboy boots. So when he come through and speak, no, they get an attention though. Like, no, you better listen to such and such. We the only people do that. You can come tell us anything if you got a gold chain on. We gone. Basketball players. You think most basketball players went to the NBA fresh out of high school, and half of them didn't even go to class. Like, and we'll let one of them Negroes come teach us arithmetic because he shoot a ball. We the only people do that, man. We the only people do that. You think about soccer, the world's biggest sport, Ronaldo and Messi. They just athletes with money. They not no revolutionaries. They not no leaders where they from. We the only people do that. That's what he meant right here. We ain't want no king. We looking for King David. Where the Rollie at, man? Where the Benz? Dude walked up in a put up in a Honda with some regular jeans and a tee on. What? We ain't hearing that. That's a marker. Verse 4. They have spoken words, swearing falsely and making covenant. He like, they have spoken words, swearing falsely and making a covenant. Thus judgment springeth up as a hemlock, a weed, in the furrows of the field. They have spoken words, swearing falsely and making a covenant. False covenants. What's false covenant? That's what we do now. We make covenant with everything falsely. You know what's a covenant? Ball is life. Is a false covenant. Man, you see people today, they get to somebody, man, I done seen videos of people arguing. Who the best basketball player? LeBron and Michael Jordan want to kill each other in real life about that. That's a false covenant. We kill each other over drug money. That's a false covenant. Everything about the streets was false. When we was growing up, it was silence and secrecy, and you don't talk to the police, and you don't do this, you don't do that. Man, stop. Don't none of that apply no more, man. These dudes be telling on each other, be right back in the hood, and they guys be like, so what he told? He ain't telling one of us. Don't none of that apply. It never did apply. My big brother, rest in peace, told me before that it was always favoritism with what they called the mob did. If you broke certain laws, you was supposed to be violated. But if you was from one of these families who was big in the gang, you could break the law and not get violated. That's what broke the gangs up here. That's what played a part in breaking the gangs up in the northern part of Illinois, as they should have been broke up because it was all false anyway. Gangs is a false covenant. What do gangs stand for? We look up to gang members. You see that now with dude Ja Morant. He look up to being in the streets. Negroes in the streets don't do nothing but kill each other. Real talk. Real talk. And then let George Zimmerman come walk through the hood. Man, stop, man. That's a false covenant. That's another false covenant. That's why I can't. It's just certain things I can't get around because I know that's a false covenant. That's what we do. And y'all like, you done made all these false covenants. You believe in everything but me. If you know the history of gangs, and I've said this before, I don't care if it's the Crips and the Bloods out west or the GDs and the Vice Lords of Chicago. Gangs sprung up when the Black Panthers was brought down by the FBI, when they had all them shootouts at them Panther headquarters. I know they had a shootout in Chicago. They killed Fred Hampton. They had the shootout in New York. They killed some of them. Some of them went to jail. They had the shootout in LA with the Panthers. And look at the history. The Panthers outshot the FBI in LA. They came to a truce and took them to jail. Gangs sprung up on the back of that. We gonna pick up where the Panthers was at and try to keep the neighborhood safe. That's where you first got. In Chicago, it was BD at first. Off the back of that, boy, drug money came into play, and different blocks got to making different money with drugs. That's when you got the gang fracture. Then the war became black men against black men for drug money. Now look at it today. The kids don't care nothing about drug money or nothing. Just because you wear the wrong color in the wrong hood, you dead. Think about that's a false covenant. What are you doing? That's not how it's supposed to go. That's a marker. We the only people do that. Who else does that? Kill each other over the color anywhere. Who does that? But they telling us Africa, don't go to Africa. No, you better not take yourself to the south side of Chicago. Is you crazy? You would die over there with the wrong hat on. You don't know. It's a video about LA. Can't be in the wrong spot in LA. Them dudes be like, who is you? Where you from? Who is this and that? You like, dude, I'm from Chicago. I don't know. Nah, you lying. You look like somebody I know. You would die for that. You would die for that. Get caught in the wrong spot in LA just because you look like somebody. Who do that? We the only people do that. Verse 5. The inhabitants of Samaria shall fear because of the calves of Bethaven. The calves is the calf is representing the God that they're worshiping, like the golden calf in the wilderness. This word for Bethaven, it's a house of vanity. And the word vanity Hebraically in the Bible represents something worthless, something useless. So he's saying the inhabitants of Samaria, which is Israel, they shall fear because of the gods of a house of vanity, useless gods, for the people thereof shall mourn over it. And the priests thereof that rejoice on it, for the glory thereof, because it is departed from it. Right? He's talking about the idol. He's talking about a false god or a false doctrine. Right? This is what they fear. This is what's moving them. The priests thereof rejoice over it, just like today. A false doctrine. I never thought about that to today, but the doctrine of religion that's taught to our people only here in America. See, yeah, we done some history of some other spots, but I ain't been to every spot. I only speak of the African American experience. I don't even speak for Jamaica and the islands and all that, although I know people from there and it's the same, but I ain't never been there. I speak for what happens with African Americans because I definitely know what an African American, I don't know. That's all I've ever known. The priests thereof rejoice over, get paid. It's a lot of priests who know that some of the things in the Bible that they teach due to the doctrine ain't right. But you know why they don't say nothing? Because they need you to come in there that Sunday and spend that money. Period. That's the rejoice over. It shall also be carried unto Assyria for a present to the king. So y'all like, because the 10 northern tribes go into captivity under Assyria. So he's letting them know in that time, when you go into captivity, you're going to carry this calf as a present to the king. Ephraim shall receive shame, and Israel shall be ashamed of his own counsel. Because you're going to, more than likely, you got this calf from them. So you worshiping their God, and think about the power of Yah in this. You, the same as today. You worshiping the European Messiah, their calf, right? Their doctrine. You'd have picked up their ways, right? Even gangs. You think about gangs. Gangs started with Al Capone and all of them in the 10s and the 20s. Even gangs, and that's this thing. Whenever you hear gang in America, you automatically think of some young black man wearing some color in some hood, throwing up some set, claiming some block. That's from our oppressor though. Gang culture started with the mafia and all of that. And you can't even tell your typical gang member that. He don't even know that. He think gang's just a black thing. No, that's us acting European. Boy, I tell you. And they did, and this is a marker. You gonna take this calf to Assyria, because more than likely that was their God. You worshiping their God with their ways. He say, Ephraim shall receive shame, and Israel shall be ashamed of his own counsel. Why? Because you doing their thing. You gonna take this calf as a present to their king, and yet he's still gonna put you in their slavery for worshiping their thing, and that's Yah. Just because you doing what they do, they don't accept you. And we see that today. That's a known fact. Just because we do what they do, they don't accept us, man. And they not supposed to. We don't care. No true Israelite don't care about that. All he's saying is, I'm going to do what I know Yah say right by my life, and everything else going to fall in place. And that's how I go. As for Samaria, her king is cut off as the foam upon the water. And he telling them, y'all finna fall. And y'all king, when y'all die, the king's up here, that's over with. But he ain't restricting that to that, because 100 years, it's less than 100 now. I believe we're about 80, 90 years by the time we get to this point. But when Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians burned down Jerusalem and the 2 tribes in the south, which is primarily Judah and Benjamin, the kings was cut off and there never was another one. The Messiah came to Jerusalem, to the temple. Look, I'm the son of Elohim. I don't even think he ever called himself the king, but they just knew from the prophecies, knowing that the history of their people, the Most High gonna send us a king, right? So they knew he was supposed to be the king. I don't think he ever called himself the king, though, right? He was just, oh, look, I'm the son of Elohim. I'm here to help and teach y'all how to do this. And no, we've never had another king. I mean, let me say that right. He is the king, but he didn't reign over Jerusalem in the manner of what we think of a king, but he is reigning. Verse 8, the high places also of Aven, vanity, the high places of uselessness, worthlessness, right? He say, the sin of Israel shall be destroyed. The high places of vanity, where you worship these calves, which is the sin of Israel, it's going to be destroyed. The thorn and the thistle shall come up on their altars, and they shall say to the mountains, cover us, and to the hills, fall on us. So even Israel, he like, oh, that's not going to work. It's going to be destroyed. Israel, thou hast sinned from the days of Gibeah. There they stood. The battle in Gibeah against the children of iniquity did not overtake them. And you know what I had to? I had to look this word up. We read this. So this word here for Gibeah, this is something we read. Remember in Judges, we read this. It says, and his master, Judges 19:12, and his master said unto him, we will not turn aside hither unto the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah. Remember, we read of the guy. I think he was a real priest. He was Levitical, I believe. Him and his wife, when they was traveling, he was like, no, we ain't going to none of these cities around that's controlled by the other people. We going amongst Israel. They went to Gibeah. And remember, it said Benjamin, the people from the tribe of Benjamin, which is Israel, surrounded the house, took his wife, raped her, sent her back dead the next day. We read that story. For those of you who was with us when we read Judges, we read that. I had to look that up. Like, where do I know this from? And we read this in here a couple months back. They left. Yeah, the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah that belonged to Benjamin. I and my concubine in the lodge. And they killed her. I'm thinking, I don't want to go amongst the other nations. I'm safer amongst my people, and they killed her. Is that a marker? The most dangerous place for a black man in America today, sadly, even with the police killings, is in the hood amongst our own people. That's why so many of us, and this go back, when we make a little money and come up, first thing we do is we try to move away from our own people. Same difference. It's another marker. He says, oh, and just think, the people of Israel today, that's the complete opposite. When they get money, they want to move closer amongst their own people. The European Jews that's over there today, they got their own communities. In Chicago, they got some. In LA, they definitely got them. In New York, they got them. In Miami, they got them. They move among when they stay amongst their own people. They feel the safest place for them is amongst their own people. That's not how I go. The Most High said for you, you're gonna see it like in the days of Gibeah, which is the beginning. You in Judges, you ain't even got a king yet. This is y'all. Remember when we was in Judges? It's like 200 years from Moses. You just got in the land, and that's how you was acting in Gibeah. And there they stood. The battle in Gibeah against the children of iniquity did not overtake them. Y'all was foul in Gibeah. That's what he said. In so many words. Y'all was foul in Gibeah, man. It isn't my desire that I should chastise them. This is y'all. I got to do it because you foul. Today, this is why you go through what you go through. I got to chat. Now, individually, he chastises us. As a nation, he chastises us because y'all don't consider me. Just like you didn't then, you still don't today. And the people shall be gathered against them when they shall bind themselves in two furrows. And Ephraim is a heifer that is taught. I went to the Septuagint for this. It read better. Ephraim is a heifer taught to love victory. We seen that in Judges. When Yah would call certain judges and they would go do the work of Yah, Ephraim was coming out the mountain like, why you ain't call us to go fight with you? And I remember, I think it was Gideon. It was Gideon who was like, dude, we've been down here starving. Y'all ain't came and checked on your brother, which we supposed to. And now that you done heard y'all done gave us some glory in battle, you down here like, why you ain't called me to come partake in this glory? We seen that. But I will come up on the fairest part of her neck. I will mount Ephraim. I will pass over Yehuda in silence for now. You ain't finna go into captivity yet, Yehuda. But when we get to Mike and Isaiah, you're going to see. And even in parts of this, they already done said, I'm talking to Israel and Yehuda, or Ephraim and Yehuda, Yah has said, right? Y'all letting it be known. I will pass over Yehuda in silence for now. Jacob shall prevail against him for now. But 80, 90 years after this, you going into slavery up under the Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians, because you've been acting the same way. Y'all like, nah, you doing the same thing. Sow to yourselves in righteousness. Reap in mercy. Remember, you reap what you sow. Sow righteousness. Do things the right way. Do profitable things. We don't got to sell out our own people to get rich. We don't got to be whores or whoremongers to get rich. You don't have to deal in folly to get rich. I know when I talk to people I know that's in those lanes of what you would call the culture of the industry, it's a dog-eat-dog culture. To get over on somebody or to beat somebody is acceptable practice. It's considered business. Y'all's like, no, it ain't. See, you learned that from the European, because that's what he done did to you here in America. I only say that because that's what's happened in America, but we have tribes of our people around the world. The Asian done did them like that. Black Africans who ain't of the tribe of Israel have done our people like that in Africa, everywhere. So it's not just about a European. I only speak that because that's where we're at. It's like that everywhere our people was at. The Muslims, the Arabs, there are African descended tribes in the Middle East of which you would never see on TV. You have to Google them. I know specifically of one in Iran and one in Iraq. And the Muslim, the Arab, the Middle Eastern people, they treat them the same way in them spots. And y'all like, no matter what they doing, all you got to do is sow to yourselves in righteousness. Do what I tell you is right, and you gonna reap in mercy. Break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek Yah. And I highlighted that in my Bible as I'm looking down here, because that's where we at. Every other way y'all to try it ain't worked. You see that? It ain't worked. It's time to seek Yah. Let me highlight that. It's time to seek Yah till he come and rain righteousness upon you. It's time to get back to Yah. That's what he's saying. And I felt this in the Septuagint as well. He says, sow to yourselves for righteousness. And I know everybody ain't been here with us. When we read the Septuagint, what we call the King James Version of the Bible was created in 16, I believe, 11. May have been a little earlier, 1609. I don't know. I don't know when King James commissioned it. But it's a translation from what they call Masoretic text. If you ever hear the word Masoretic text, know this. The Masoretic text is part Hebrew, part Aramaic, which they are similar languages anyway. They are considered to be Shemitic languages, I'll say. But it's part Hebrew, part Aramaic, and they translated the Bible into English, what we call the King James, from that. This Breton that you see me keep jumping to, this is called the Septuagint. And the Septuagint was made in 300 BC. So 1800 years before the King James, but it's only the Old Testament because it was made before the Messiah walked the earth. And it was in the time that the Greeks were in control of Egypt. They really weren't in control of Jerusalem, but they were in control of the area around it, Turkey, what we call Syria today, all of that. Anyway, the Greeks were in control of all the known world. This is where the story of Alexander the Great begins, just as a slight history. So after he died and his generals and they took over this land and split it up amongst Greeks, it was a Greek in Egypt named Ptolemy who, for whatever reason, he felt the Hebrews. And he was like, we need a copy of y'all literature, basically, because the Greeks were about literature and stacking history and things of that nature. It wasn't necessarily that he wanted to follow Yah. I won't go that far. But he had 72 Israelites, they said it was. That's why if you ever see it, you'll see an L, an X, and an X, because the L in Roman numerals mean 50. The X's mean 10. So really, it's called the Septuagint is really 70, if you see it, because it was 72 Hebrews who went and translated what we call the Old Testament in Greek for them. So the reason why you'll see me jump to the Septuagint when we read these prophets is because it is considered to be a closer translation to Hebrew than the KJV of the Old Testament. Mind you, there is no New Testament in the Septuagint because it was translated before the Messiah walked the earth. So not in all things, it lines up primarily, but there are certain verses, the way they worded the translation, that make more sense when I read the Septuagint, just so you all know when I read this. And this verse 12 was one. Sow to yourselves for righteousness, gather in for the fruit of life. And that's what righteousness do. Remember, it started this chapter with Israel as an empty tree, right? We're trying to produce the fruit of life. He says, light you for yourselves the light of knowledge. This is the seeking of Yah. He really said seek Yah here. Light you for yourselves the light of knowledge, because Yah is the light of your knowledge. Seek the Most High till the fruits of righteousness come upon you. And he trying to tell us, and that's what he was saying, Hosea was saying is, in seeking the Most High Yah is where the fruit of righteousness is. I see your hand, Patrick. Let me finish these last two verses and it's on you. Verse 13, I don't keep it up because I don't want it to be confusing, either the Septuagint, because the wording is different, but in most cases it says the same. Just so you all know. But verse 13 says, you have plowed wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies. Remember, he said you'd have made faulty covenants, false covenants. You have eaten the fruit of lies, right? Because thou did trust in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. This actually was a really interesting verse right here, this verse 13. It says, so the word here for plowed is karash. It's to devise. So he said, you have devised wickedness. You have fabricated wickedness. You have come up with wicked ways. You have reaped. The word here for reaped is katser. You have reaped. You have curtailed, right? It's trying to say that you have from plowing wickedness, you have gathered sin to yourself. You know, you plowed and you reap. You reap what you sow. If you sow wickedness, you're gonna gather sin to yourself. But he says, you have eaten the fruit of lies. The word here for eating. Oh, I'm tripping. I know where this was at. We had to go back into the ancient Hebrew for the root breakdown of this. And reap means to cut something short or small, often in the sense of harvesting. Is that where I was at? Yeah. If you if you plow, if you sow wickedness, you go harvest sin to yourself. And the wages of sin is death, right? So he's going to say, you have eaten. So the word here for eaten is important. You have consumed. You have consumed, right? The fruit of lies. The fruit, the reward. And the root breakdown of this, it says the increase. The fruit is the reward of the increase. You have consumed the reward and the increase of lies. Now just think, we've seen that before. A lie. They teach us coming up that, and it's widely believed around the world amongst a lot of people, right? Eve ate the apple from the tree, right? They teach us all that. Eve ate an apple. Eve ate an apple. They teach us that. Eve ate an apple. Yet in Genesis, I think it's 3, it never says Eve ate an apple. It says the serpent, Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High had made. And he said unto the woman, have Elohim said, you shall not eat of every fruit of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst, we shall not eat. It says, verse 6, Genesis chapter 3. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. See, it wasn't just some fruit, it wasn't no apple. It was something to make one wise. She took of the fruit, as Hosea just said, you have eaten of the fruit of lies, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. They consumed something that increased the knowledge, is what it means. Because the word fruit here means in the pictograph, right? Which is this would be the root of the ancient Hebrew, is the root of what is considered to be the root. The pictograph is this open. This is a pay, I believe. It's the mouth. It's an open mouth. And this resh, this letter is called a resh. It's a picture of a head. And combine these means open the head. And that's what a prophecy is, right? The fruit that comes from within. So what it's saying that they consumed something that opened up their head, opened up their mind, opened them up to something, is the fruit. The tree, which is the devil. And I was just telling somebody the other day, when you read Genesis, not every tree, but a lot of the trees in the garden are angels and fallen angels. And we'll go through that. We actually may come through something like that today. But she consumed of the reward of the increase of the fruit of lies. And he taught her something. And whenever he taught her husband. And Yah wasn't feeling that. That's why he told him, don't be messing with the tree of good and evil, because the devil had already fell from heaven, who we call the oppressor, right? And Yah was like, whatever he teacheth false, because Yah had just seen him trying to teach that to the angels in heaven. That's what got him kicked out. And it said he took a bunch of angels with him. The reason why he can get into the garden, because at this time, the garden is on earth. But after this sin, Yah took the garden from the earth. That's why it can't be found today. Or at least he made it where we can't visibly see it. It may still be here in a realm that's beyond our eyesight, to be honest. But when he telling them, you have plowed wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies, he's saying, your sin is the same sin that man originally created. This ain't nothing new. We have eaten of the fruit of lies today. What's the fruit of lies today? In Jesus' name? That's a lie. That ain't Bible. Nowhere in the Bible do it say in Jesus' name you can do whatever you want to do and just repent in Jesus' name and you good. That's not Bible. That's doctrine. See, that's religion. What's another fruit of lies? This new movement where a man can be a woman and a woman could be a man. That ain't Bible. In the Bible, the Most High say, I created you man and woman. And anybody who go against that order is an abomination to me. It's a lot of fruit of lies. This get rich or die trying mentality. That's a lie. Y'all say, I bless my people. They ain't got to do nothing but do right by me. That ain't what we do. We steal from each other. We kill each other over money, drug money. Think about that. This is part of what made me get out the streets. I sat back and I thought one day and I said, man, I go kill somebody right now if he owe me for some drugs. And realistically, what I'm thinking is, I'm going to kill somebody for drugs to go kill my own people. We'll kill each other over the right to go kill our own people. That's a lie. Everything about that is backwards, man. When you think about what I just said, we will kill each other for the right to go destroy our own family. The nerve of us. The nerve of us, man. That's so foul. Verse 14. Therefore shall a tumult arise among the people. It's going to be hectic amongst y'all. And all the fortresses shall be spoiled, destroyed. And Shalman spoiled Beth Arbel. He's talking about a war or something that took place. He said, in the day of battle, they was killing the mothers and dashing her pieces upon her children. They was killing the women and the kids, basically. And y'all said, what I'm finna bring up on you, they finna do the same thing to y'all. What do they do here? We already talked about the African American woman is the woman who dies the most during pregnancy. That's a study. Science says that. Not only that, we have the highest abortion rates. Science, not even science, they have numbers for that. But not only that, going back to slavery, we was gator bait. They used our kids as gator bait. Go back to Moses. When Moses was born, Pharaoh went down there and killed all the boys that was his age. When the Messiah was born, Herod sent to Bethlehem and killed all the boys that was born around his age. That's a marker. Who else do that happen to? Who else do that happen to? Verse 15, so shall Bethel, the house of Elohim, do unto you because of your great wickedness. Because you done did this, y'all like, I'm gonna allow the same to happen. Because you have separated yourself, because you don't consider me, because you don't consider that you Israel in 2023, I'm gonna let all this to happen to you. Because I called you for a reason. And the reason I called you is not to be teaching everybody that they need to be playing basketball or that they need to vote. Not saying ain't nothing wrong with that, but we get a Most High all glory first. It's not saying that they all need to be rappers or singers. What are we rapping and singing about? Lusting, killing each other, sleeping with each other's wives? That's not so of righteousness. No. And this is why we fail. Yeah, some people make some money, but look at the people, look at the lives around you. The greatest of us, Michael Jackson, Prince, Tupac, Biggie. These is the greatest musicians ever amongst our people, at least considered. Look at all of their deaths. It's still a mystery behind Prince. Prince was walking around here with pants with his butt cheeks out. Ain't nothing honorable. I seen somebody, and I won't say this person's name because I see a lot of black people look up to this person like they some type of philosopher. And I seen somebody tweet this person talking about Prince in that manner. And this person defended Prince. Do you know how much confidence and how cool that was to be able to walk around with your butt out like that and date all the finest women, woo woo? And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't give a damn how many fine women he dated. Dude was corny for that. That's lame. Only a sucker would dress like that. What are you kidding me? Be somewhere with your butt cheeks out like that? Are you kidding me? We get on Lizzo now for being out here doing that, which she's shameful too. Ain't nothing real about that. Ain't nothing real about Michael Jackson in that tree talking about he Peter Pan. Well, nothing real about Pac and Biggie having an East Coast, West Coast beef where there's a lot of people that got shot behind rapping. Ain't nothing real. Them dudes didn't have no real beef. It come out in the end, Biggie didn't even have nothing to do with Pac being wrong. What you mad at him for? Y'all said all that's gonna happen to you because y'all don't consider me. And in the morning shall the king of Israel be utterly cut off. So he's letting them know in this time, y'all finna go into captivity in the north, but Judah, don't you slack. Because if you don't get your mind right, you going soon too. And as this story goes further, we gonna see they don't get their mind right. Patrick, I see in your hand. What's going on, Doc?
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Toda Aki, Dre, and Koti Shelley for bringing us the word every week. Just a quick question. I'm surprised I haven't asked this, or I'm sure I missed it. What application are you using to bring us? How you're able to just click to this,
It's called
back and forth.
I'm sorry, what you say?
Yeah, what application are you using so that I use my phone for everything, but I mean to get a little more orthodox, or if I really want to, keep striving in the word.
It's called an eSword app. They got it on the phone too, if you want to
They
look.
do?
Yeah, you just got to
eSword, okay.
Whatever your story is.
All right.
And just type in eSword, and they have it. It's actually free. You got to pay for it on the desktop, but it's free on the phone. I believe it's free.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Yeah, when we could, if you got any questions, we can help set it up. I've been trying to help Obadiah, man. I don't know what I got going on, but we gonna get there, Obadiah, soon enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't asked that before. I mean, as you're breaking it down, it's like I wonder if I figured it was just for the computer, but I mean, it's 2023. I mean,
It's on the phone,
technology, you can do everything on the phone. So, Toda.
tablet, whatever you got. You can put it anywhere. Any questions or comments about chapter 10 before we do chapter 11? Chapter 11 is only 12 verses. We're gonna knock that out real quick. But this is about the considering. This is why you got the slave Bible, and this is why now you have a slave doctrine of the Bible being taught. Because nobody wants you to consider, especially not you. When I say you, I'm talking about anybody who fears Yah first and foremost. But to his tribe, to the people that he called his nation, which have fell into slavery, as he said in the Bible. And I keep saying that, we go to this a lot, but just in Deuteronomy 28, when Moses was telling them, these are the curses. If you fall out with Yah, this was going to happen. The last verse of Deuteronomy 28, he tell them, and the Most High shall bring thee again into Egypt with ships. Remember, the word Egypt represents bondage. It's not just a landmass. Mitzrayim, the word is Mitzrayim, and at the root of the word, it means, just so you know, so because he ain't telling them. Remember, they walked out of Egypt. So Moses is telling them this as they're walking out of Egypt. So he ain't telling them you going back into Egypt on no ship. We walked out. Why would you go back on a ship? That don't make no sense. He's telling them, but the word Egypt also means a place of distress, a place of the adversary, a besieged place, a fortified place. So what he's telling them is, you going back into Egypt, you going back into bondage again with ships. The word here for ships, oniyah, a ship, shipment. It's talking about a boat. He meant what he said. And searching through the sea for a distant shore. You going back on into bondage on a ship. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. You ain't gonna never see this place again as a nation. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And the word here for buy is redeem. To acquire something or someone or something through a purchase or other method. And it really means redeem. It doesn't mean, because we know that you were bought and sold, but what he said is no man is going to redeem you. So when you keep hearing me say that, just for people who aren't familiar with that, because everybody's not familiar, that's just one spot. But he told us part of you doing wrong is you going to go into slavery on ships. So when you hear me speak about the African American experience, because and that's how the Most High works. We the only people fit that. There is no other nation of people who got on those slave ships, was taken from their land, and ain't never been back as a nation. Yeah, some of us that made enough money to where we go back to Africa. We didn't even made it back to Jerusalem, but not as a nation. Think about all the generations of our people who done died here who have never been back. I ain't never been there, and I done traveled. I've never been to Africa or Jerusalem. And I traveled. I ain't never been there. But Yah willing, as Ariel get older, that's kind of what I'm waiting on now, man, for her to get a little bit more wind under her sail. I'm gonna experience for the first time with her. Hallelujah. Anybody else, any comments or questions about chapter 10 of Hosea before we move on? I'm gonna try to knock this chapter 11 out really. It's fairly brief.
I have a quick
Shalom,
comment.
One of y'all was first, I'm not sure.
Go ahead on, Patrick.
It's real quick. Don't forget to bring up the one, or maybe later on in today's study, you'll go over the Genesis, because I still remember when you broke down Genesis for me, and how the trees were the fallen angels or the angels and
Okay.
whatnot. And I think that was a beautiful story. So
Will do. Shalom, Mark. What's up? You came here?
Yeah, shalom. I had to talk to a sister for about an hour before I could jump on. But yeah, I just wanted to. I'm out walking. I just wanted to say about the slave ship. If you look at the diagram, anybody can pull up a slave ship. It's a coffin.
Yes.
It looks like it's just a coffin. That's what it is. When you see all the bodies laying in it, it just resembles a coffin.
I never thought
so,
of that.
There's so many. Yeah, man. I had one of the teachers taught that a while back and everything and stuff that, and it's so many, markers, as you would say. And our discernment is just going to let us, the more that we eat this bread in a righteous setting, this righteous bread, the only thing that's going to be able to sustain us is going to be this truth in the right setting. You see what I'm saying? You can't get this, like a church can only take you so far. It can only take you to a certain place and drop you off. But there is unlimited understanding, in the presence of the elect. And when you're down, somebody else is up. When you're going through it, because you're a part of a body. So he made us be a body. You know what I'm saying? And we function like that. We should feel something when somebody else is going through something else. We should feel it. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, they just having a hard time. No, man, that's me. I mean, it starts in the house. Your wife, she's you. She's you. Your children are you. And you should be like, okay, I understand that. I see that. I feel it. And now I'm going to work on it because I got all of the solutions right here. You didn't have all of the solutions because you didn't have the heritage. You didn't know who it was. You weren't worshiping in spirit and in truth. Hallelujah.
And we coming to that. And you're true. Your wife is supposed to be a reflection of you. Shelly, man, it's funny because a lot of people tell me Shelly act like me. Now, being that we in the house together, I don't see that. But I do know people who say that, though, like y'all act just alike, which is kind of funny to me to even hear that. But hallelujah, you are correct. I know I mentioned that the Messiah died on a tree. I don't want to leave that just like that. So it's in multiple places, but one of the places is Acts chapter 10. It says, then Peter, Acts chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth, I perceive that Elohim is no respecter of persons. That's a fact. That's a church mentality. Once again, think when you go to church, you can't ask pastor nothing because it's respect of persons. But Peter is saying the Most High is not a respecter of person. We supposed to be able to ask questions. Now, you do everything in decent and in order also, but y'all can ask me any question. And if I don't know it, then we going to open the Bible and try to find it together. Humbly. That's how it's supposed to go. Verse 35, but in every nation, he that fear him and work righteousness is accepted with him. In every nation. It don't matter who you is. And we just read that in Psalms. If you fear Yah and you work in righteousness, you accepted by Yah. The word which Elohim sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Yahoshua. And the reason why you hear us say that is because they tell us that the New Testament was written in Greek. And you see in Greek, it says his name was Isis. But in the definition, it says of a Hebrew origin. And when you go to that Hebrew origin, it's Yahoshua. Now, some people say Yahusha. It's just the pronunciation, but it's the same word. It means Yahuwah say. Understand, as you see his name is Yahoshua with a Y, because there is no J in the Hebrew language. But even in the definition, they still try to tell us Jehovah. That ain't his name. Ain't no J in Hebrew. Be that as it may, preaching peace by Yahoshua Hamashiach, Hamashiach meaning the Messiah. He is Lord of all. So Peter, like, the Most High sent the word unto the children of Israel by Yahoshua, his son. That word, I say, which was published throughout all Judea and began from Galilee after the baptism which John preached. Talking about John the Baptist. It started when John the Baptist preached, but the Messiah was doing miracles before that. And we may read some of that one day because it's a very interesting story. But it started when John the Baptist baptized him. They say, remember the story, say the dove came out the sky, it was the spirit, and they heard the voice of the Most High say, this is my son, in him I am well pleased. Another very popular story. It says, how the Most High anointed Yahoshua of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost, or as you'll hear us say, is the Ruach HaKodesh, which in Hebrew means set apart spirit, and with power. He was given that by the Most High, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for the Most High was with him. It says, and we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Israelites. This word Jew it's a European term, really. They would have never called themselves Jews. He did in the land of Israel and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. So when you hear me say that, I just read that because I know I say that sometimes and everybody may not have seen that. It's biblical. It's known. It's stated in the Bible he was hung on a tree. Yet in front of all these churches, we see crosses / pillars of wood and stone. That's why you hear me call that an idol. Just so everybody know. And I'll make sure I get back to the tree at the end, Pastor. Hosea chapter 11, and we're going to take it home. So y'all was just giving us more markers, and he was telling us y'all finna go into captivity. He was really telling them the punishment of sin for separating ourselves from him, from not considering, from not having that fear, that reverence, that respect for him. And that's where we at now. And hallelujah, that's why we give thanks when we pray, because he's teaching us how to, we are starting to learn to give that respect the right way now. And that's a blessing. And only Yah can teach you. So to all of you who come to this, I know some people who be having to do certain things, they can't make it, who will see this later. To you too, my Coach Amy, my Aunt Remy, my mother, because I know them some of the main people always telling me they have to go back and check it out. To you all too, and everybody else who missed this. You only make it to this point because Yah has put it on your heart to be at this point. And that's why we always give thanks. To Trey being here, that's the Most High working on you. And me and you talk about that all the time. It's the Most High working on you. It ain't about me. It ain't about you. The Most High is giving us all a chance. This is the opportunity. That's the mercy. Because it ain't because we've been doing right. And my brother know, and my brother Remy, who ain't here, know, because we did a lot of the things coming up together. It ain't because we've been doing right. But it's because it's something in you he put in you that we didn't even know. And now he's revealing that to us. Now, when we get to chapter 11, after he's telling us this is what's going to happen, he say, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. So when Moses came to get y'all, remember, that's before you was even a nation. You was just Jacob's family. I established you as a nation in the wilderness when Moses came to get you. He said, I loved you. Y'all was like, I love y'all. Mind you, he know the end from the beginning. So even though I know you going to be in America acting a plum fool in 2023, I love you. I love your ancestors. I loved Abraham. I loved Isaac. I loved Jacob. I told them that I would always make a way from you, even when you be hard-headed. It's all been prophesied. I told them, I still love you, but you got to show me that you love me. He said, I loved you when I called you out of Egypt. Verse 2, as they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Balaam and burned incense to graven images. I loved you in Egypt, and I was watching you in Egypt sacrifice to their gods then, which is how you got the golden calf in the wilderness. You didn't just think that up. That's a god of Egypt. You took that with you. And I knew you was going to take that with you, but I still loved you enough to give you a chance because it's still free will. I knew you had it in your heart to take it with you, but I still came to get all of you to give you the chance to correct that. You did what I knew you was going to do, but I gave you the opportunity. You could have been like, everybody didn't do that. I don't believe everybody at the bottom of that mountain was like, Aaron, make us this calf. It probably was a small remnant, but everybody didn't just buy in. No, it was some people who was like, y'all tripping. I ain't finna. Now I'm gonna wait on Moses. Because they was like, Moses done been up on this mountain for 40 days or whatever. Dude, done left us down here to starve. Ain't no water. It's so funny because Moses up there getting the 10 Commandments, the Most High, like, you better get down there and holler at them. They down there wilding. I'm finna kill him. He tell Moses, I'm finna kill every one of them, Moses, and start over with you. Moses like, nah, don't do that. That's humility. Moses like, nah, don't do that. Hold on, let me go. Think about you talking to the creator of all. Moses bargaining with the creator. No, don't do that. Let me go check on him. I'm gonna get him back right. He like, you better hurry up. You better hurry up, Moses. That's how the Most High deal with you. That's how the Most High deals with his chosen people. That's why we here. You don't know it, but you've been bargaining with the Most High with your life, your whole life. You've been bargaining. And even when you've been wrong, he been like, it's some good in you somewhere. I know it's there because I put it there. And now this is your chance. As the last chapter just said, it's time to seek Yah. We don't need religion to seek Yah, to build your personal relationship with the Most High, which we all have to do. All you got to do is pick up your Bible and read it. You can start wherever you want. Now, if a person gonna read the Bible from back to front, I tell them that's a good way to do it. But wherever you start. I wouldn't start at Revelations because, in my opinion, to fully understand Revelation, you have to understand the whole Bible. That's the only place I will tell you not to start is Revelation, because it's hard to understand unless you understand multiple things in the Bible. That's why we started with these prophets. And as we finish these prophets, Yah willing, we do, because we got a long way to go. We may pick Revelation up then, because I believe for all of us, it'll be better, easier for us to understand it after going through the prophets, because it'll show us that everything that's said in Revelation was prophesied already. John just put it all together in one book. But y'all, like, I saw you in America. I see y'all over there sacrificing the idols. I see you over there sleeping with your homie girl and stealing from your mama and cheating on your wife and uh, selling drugs and destroying your own people, killing your own people, teaching your kids to be that. I see you. I still done brought you to this point, though. Same in Egypt. You sacrificing the Balaam. You burning incense to graven images. I see you worshiping their gods. I see you. But I love you, though. I taught Ephraim also to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them. He like, Ephraim, I done provided everything for you already, Ephraim. Now he's talking to the 10 northern tribes again, because Ephraim, Samaria is part of what's the land plot that Yah gave to the tribe of Ephraim. Mind you, Ephraim is Joseph's son. His wife was Egyptian. Ephraim is a mixed tribe. A lot of Israelites don't want to mention that. Ephraim is a mixed tribe. It ain't all Israel. Egypt, although they was a bunch of black people, don't tell that to them Arabs that's in Egypt now. They just canceled Kevin Hart because he said, man, ancient Egypt, them kings was black. They was like, they said, you blackwashing. I'm like, boy, I ain't never even heard that. That term still tickles me. Like, how do you blackwash something? They canceled Kevin Hart in Egypt. I read that a couple days ago. They canceled him because of that. Because he said them hieroglyphs with all them black people's the kings. Them Arabs like, we ain't African, them people wasn't black. That's our history. That ain't none of your history. And the funny thing about them fighting over that, in the Bible, it don't matter that Egypt was black. They still Gentiles. They heathens. Think about that. The Arabs is mad at Kevin Hart to fight over being a heathen. Yet the same Muslim will tell you in the Quran that the Most High took the covenant from Isaac and Jacob and gave it to Ishmael. That's the basis of Islam. Yet Egypt, which is Muslim, them Arabs, is fighting now, claiming that the covenant is theirs, but fighting Kevin Hart to be a heathen. See how the foolishness of the world be? You wouldn't know that if you didn't care to know that, though. They really making themselves look foolish doing that. They fighting over being heathens. Boy, the Most High be going crazy out there. Man, the Most High just don't make no mistake, man. It tickles me when I think about some of the things that people call intellectual. Like, no, when you read this Bible, you really find out, like, that's really a bunch of foolishness they fighting on. Y'all told Ephraim, I healed you. I provided for you. But you didn't know it. You act like you don't know it. He said, I drew them with cords of a man, with the bands of love. I did that. Y'all like, I did that. I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws and lay meat unto them. Remember, the yoke, you put it on the animal, and that's how you plow the field. You take the yoke off and feed them. I did that. I took the yoke off of you. I took the burden off of you and fed you. And I did it with love. And I did it with love. And look at you. You up here got your own kings. You got your own temples. You worshiping your own gods. You worshiping the gods of the Assyrians. And when the Assyrians come in, they gonna make you be their slaves, worshiping their God. They should come in and be like, yeah, you doing what's up? We should get in league together. No, they gonna come in like, we don't care because you worshiping our gods. You Israel, man. Go over there and get them chains. What do they tell you to now? We don't care because y'all got these churches and you talking about in Jesus' name and you know Christian. We don't care nothing about that. You know how I know? Because when you look at these white Christians, these white nationalists, white supremacists, these evangelicals, they Christians too, in Jesus' name. Racist as ever. They don't care nothing about these black pastors being no preacher. They like, boy, you a nigger. We don't care nothing about you. That's the same difference. See what I'm saying about the marker? That's the same difference. We don't care nothing about that. You would think under Christianity, it would be all love. It is not. No. Remember, when you hear the basis of white supremacy is God and guns. They're trying to take our guns. They're trying to take these Bibles, right? It's all about the Bible, right? Until you talk black with the Bible. And then it's like, he shouldn't even have a right to vote. But I'm a Christian. So what? You a black man. So what? You a Christian. It's the same difference. Y'all ain't made no mistakes. He's showing you what it do. They don't do that with the European Ashkenazi Jew who's supposed to be the people of the Bible. They talk junk about them and go get in league with them. They talk junk about them and go, you know how I know? Because when Kanye and them was just running around talking all that, them same white nationalists was like, Kanye, bogus for talking about the people. It's the same difference. It's the same difference. Verse 5, he shall not return into the land of Egypt. You ain't going back there, Ephraim. That's how we know that means something else, but it's a deeper study. But you ain't going back into Egypt. He meaning literally Egypt. Because I know you part Egyptian and you came out of there with you ain't going. But the Assyrian shall be his king because they refuse to return. Oh, that's where it's at. We're going to go to it right there, Pat. That's okay. Hallelujah. Wrote that down somewhere else too. But the Assyrian, he let them know you going into captivity under these Assyrians. Asher, Assyria is the second son of Shem. It's believed to be started. And that's another thing. Asher was a son of Shem. He's a Shemitic people, but he ain't Israel. He a heathen. Actually, I'll let you know color of skin don't matter because Asher more than likely was a brown-skinned man also. He a heathen. These Egyptians, these ancient Egyptians, when they was dark black, was heathens. Just like an Asian is a heathen, just like a European is a heathen, is a heathen. He a Gentile. Really, the word heathen just means, heathen is an aggressive word. It just means Gentile, somebody of a foreign nation. But you know, the way it's tossed around is almost like derogatory. You a heathen. It just means somebody of a foreign nation, man. It ain't even a derogatory term, but it's used like one. He like, you ain't going into Egypt. You going to the king of Assyria because you refuse to return. You refuse to consider me. Now, mind you, he's talking about Ephraim. He says, and the sword shall abide on his cities. Y'all gonna be at war. Y'all gonna kill each other. And shall consume his branches, the people. The branches are the people. And devour them because of their own counsel. Yeah, because gangs picked up what the Black Panthers was. And when the United States government, the CIA, under George Bush, started to allow drugs to come into the inner city to stop the Black Panthers. There's a history of that. When that happened, instead of you standing strong, remember the Black Panthers was fighting, you can't sell drugs in the community. Stop selling drugs to your own people. The Black Panthers fought against that. When that failed and the gangs picked it up, they threw drugs at them and the gang was like, forget police in the community. We got to go get this money. That's how you got GDs and vice lords out of the BDs and the L Rookers. There was the original old gangs that was carrying that. When the drug money kicked in, it was like, no, we the GDs over here. Now we making too much money for that. And now we the vice lords and we the Blackstones. And that's how you got that. Drug money. Because of your own counsel. The sword is in your city. You kill each other. You destroy your own people. That's a marker. Who does that? Don't nobody else sell drugs to their own people and kill their own people, man. Don't nobody else shoot their own people like we do every day, man. Because of your own counsel. Because you stop listening to me. You stop considering me. So mind you, he's talking about Ephraim. He's talking about what's happening then. It's the same thing today. And my people are bent to backsliding from me. Y'all don't want to do right by me. You standing on, you going to do what you want to do. You going to continue to do it your way. Even though you see in America in 2023, your way ain't worked. Whether it's Malcolm X, whether it's the Black Panthers, whether it's Martin Luther King, whether it's Frederick Douglass, it don't matter who it is. Your way ain't worked. It don't matter who it is. Your way ain't worked. Whether you rich, whether you poor, whether it's Kareem and Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali, Jesse Jackson, these so-called leaders today, which is the flukiest era of leaders. It's not a Negro that be on TV that's no leader. Kanye is not no leader. Jay-Z is not no leader. LeBron is not no leader. Oprah ain't no leader. Bill Cosby wasn't no leader. People wasn't no leaders. But be that as it may, it ain't worked. None of that they talking about Diddy. Man, it's all about ownership. We go own this and all that and entrepreneurship. That's cool. Don't get it twisted. But you ain't finna come from up out of captivity like that. No. This new age mysticism with our people. We just manifesting and affirming and healing with crystals, and you ain't okay. You're not gonna manifest freedom. You can't manifest equal rights. You might can manifest a vacation. Think about how trivial our people is now. We manifested and affirming a job. Everywhere I know hiring. I don't gotta manifest and affirm no job. Go put an application in, man. Are you kidding me? Don't nobody even work no more. Everywhere is hiring. When I be out in traffic, it's a hiring sign on every store, every warehouse, everywhere. We manifest jobs like we did something major. Every time somebody come around me and say that, be it man or woman, because you got that with our people on both sides, I'll always tell them, when you gonna manifest equal rights? When you gonna manifest freedom? They always get to stuttering. That's where I stop that conversation. As soon as I hear that, well, manifest freedom. When I had my Facebook, I used to be all up on the post. As soon as I see somebody say that, well, affirm us freedom, then. What you waiting on? Man, when you know it. No. You get up every day telling people in your motivational speeches, just affirm and manifest and do this and do that. Manifest freedom. I don't care about manifesting no house. You can move me back to the hood. Low key, I promise, I think every day, like, I should move back closer to inner city Joliet. I feel like my impact would be stronger if I was closer back to the people who I know for real, talking how I am now. I think that all the time. I think that all the time. See, I ain't one of these Negroes who's scared to go move back around my people. I flourish in the moment. I invite it. I just ask y'all to show me where he wants me to be. That's where I'm at. But no, you ain't got to manifest me no house or nothing. No, I could drive a bucket every day long as it's starting me and REL could cut the heat off. No, none of that mean nothing to me. People who know me, I ain't never cared about a car. So you can't tell me that you manifested no foreign for me. I don't care nothing about that. What I care about that, and my family starving. What I care about that. But think about how Negroes do. We pull up in the foreign on a family that's starving. Because we bent to backsliding from y'all. We don't consider. Though they called them to the Most High. He says, though they called them. You've been called to me. But y'all don't want to exalt me. Y'all don't want to give me my proper due. Y'all don't want to give me my respect. Respect ain't just talk. Remember, reverence, you respect. Because you know me, claim to know me, because you know my instructions, you respect me by doing that. We don't want to do that. We like, no, we ain't doing that. That's how our people move. We like, no, we not doing that. He like, nah. And y'all like, okay, that's cool. But then don't feel away when I repay you for that. Because as he said in other chapters of this, I always send a prophet to tell them what I'm gonna do before I do it. You've got count. Up until this point of Hosea, you got Joshua talking like this. Y'all saying this in the judges. Y'all saying this amongst the kings. David, Solomon saying this even before he fell. He's saying this. Moses saying this. Jacob saying this. Abraham saying this. He told Abraham when he made the covenant, he said, your people gonna serve 400 years in a nation of a people they don't even know. He said this from the beginning. He told Abraham that. Your descendants are going to serve a nation for 400. He gave him a day too. He gave him an exact number. For 400 years, they going to serve in a nation amongst the people they do not know. So now that he at this point right here with Ephraim, he telling them, this ain't nothing new. I told your forefathers this. Yosef knew this. Who is your daddy, Ephraim? You ain't even one of the 12. I done gave you a plot because of your daddy. He knew this. And I know. Y'all telling him, I know. The righteous man that Yosef was, before he died, he taught you this. You done chose to do what you want to do. You've been taught this. He says, how shall I give thee up, Ephraim? How? I'm going to show you how. How shall I deliver thee, Israel? All 10 tribes up there. How? All 12 tribes I'm going to deliver. You too, Judah, your day coming. Might not be right now, but your day coming. He letting it be known. How shall I make thee as Admah? He said, how shall I make thee as Admah? Admah, earthy. How shall I make thee as Admah? A place near the Dead Sea. How shall I make thee Zeboim? The Z is really a tss sound. Zeboim. Zeboim. These is 2 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. We only hear about Sodom and Gomorrah, but he destroyed, I want to say Admah and Zeboim too. I think so. And then it was like Zara or Zor, where he took Lot to. Why don't you correct me if I'm wrong? But what he telling them is, I'm finna do you like I did Sodom and Gomorrah. You keep playing with me. Because my heart is turned within me. My repentings are kindled together. Y'all like, I'm tired of listening to what y'all talking about. I done gave you a lot of chances. And we coming to a head now. That's why when you see our people and it's getting worse, that's y'all saying, I'm tired of y'all. I'm tired of y'all. I done gave you too many chances. I brought you out of slavery. They didn't free you. Abraham Lincoln didn't free you. I freed you. You was in Jim Crow. You couldn't even pee in a restaurant with these people. I changed that. I'm helping you get comfortable so you can turn to me. What do? You get jobs and start bootlicking, selling out your own people for a paycheck. What? Yeah, like, no, man, come on, man. I can't be. Well, I can hear y'all, man. I can't keep, man. Y'all, man. Like he told Moses on the mountain, man, Moses, that was 3 months in. When we do that story, that was 3 months from the time that Moses got out of Egypt into the wilderness to that moment on Sinai. And y'all already 3 months in is like, man, they down there wild, and I'm already tired of y'all. But my word is true, unlike yours, Israel. And I told your ancestors, I am going to save y'all. I am going to save a group of y'all. So even though y'all already working my head, I'm going to do that. But I didn't tell them how. So everybody above the age of 20 going to die out here in the woods. I'm only taking the kids in. I didn't say how I was going to save them. I just said I was going to save them. All the rest of y'all going to die in the woods. Everybody under the age of 20, that's who I'm going to take into Israel to establish this land. I just told them I was going to save them. I ain't tell them how. Same today. All I said is a remnant. I ain't tell them how many or how. A remnant could be just 144,000 of y'all. Think about that. It's 35 million African Americans. And that's not even considering Brazil and all of the islands where the slave ships went. That's not even considering the descendants that claim to be of Israel in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Iran, in India, in China, in Japan, in Australia. That remnant could only be 144,000. Hell, only one of us can make it on this call. It ain't many of us, but only one of us can make it. It ain't no time to play with y'all. Because I just said a remnant. I didn't give a number. I didn't say none of that. None of that. All I said was Shabbat Shalom, Tim. All I said was a remnant. I didn't say how, and I didn't say how many. That's why this is so important, what he doing for all of us now. He giving us that chance to be part of that. You want to be part of that. Y'all like, oh, you want to be part of that. Know that. I will not execute the fierceness of my anger. I will not return to destroy Ephraim, for I am Elohim and not man, the Holy One in the midst of thee, and I will not enter into the city. And you know what? I ended this in the Septuagint the whole time. from 9 to 11. Verse 9 in the Septuagint, he say, I will not act according to the fury of my wrath. I will not abandon Ephraim to be utterly destroyed. Although you bogus, that's why I telling them, I still loved you. I'm not gonna do you like Sodom and Gomorrah, but I could. You've done enough sin to where you could be destroyed from the earth, but I'm going to spare you. For I am the most high and not man. I don't move like men. My mercy is different than yours. I know the end from the beginning. I play the long game. Because if I didn't, you would all die. But he told Moses that way back. If I didn't, they would all die, Moses. They down there fire. He say, I'm the Holy One. And I will not enter into the city. I won't kill everybody. Verse 10. I will go after the Most High. He shall utter his voice as a lion. I will go after the master, he say. He shall utter his voice as a lion. For he shall roar, and the children of the water shall be amazed. Who shall roar? The Messiah. The children of the water. Now look, in the KJV here, it said the children shall tremble from the west. So the children from the water the children of the water shall be amazed as the children shall tremble from the west. Who? Us. We the ones brought here on the slave ships. We the ones in the west. And y'all like, when I work this work, you gonna be amazed. What work? It's amazing what he doing right here. Just the people I know personally in here and the people who I talk to, who I've grown up with, I should say. It's amazing for us to be at this point, to be having these conversations, considering where we done come from. It's amazing. It's no way to explain it. The Messiah already roared. He is the lion. Remember, the conquering lion who's going to ride in on the cloud. It's the Messiah. He like, I'ma send after the master. I'ma send after Yah. I will go after Yah, he said. He shall utter his voice as a lion, the Messiah, the Lion of Yehuda. For he shall roar, and the children of the water. This is another prophecy. The children of the water shall be amazed. And that's what I mean about the prophecy. He's talking about what's going to happen, but he talking about the end, because they going east. The 10 northern tribes going to Assyria. They going northeast. He like the children of the west. The children of the water is going to be amazed. Who? Us, the ones who got on them slave ships. They going to be amazed at what I do, because they going to be in a place where they not even teaching slavery in school no more. You hear me? Man, y'all tell you, boy, this Bible something else. Y'all like, they going to be at a point where they not even teaching their history no more. They going to be amazed at what I do. With everything looking bleak, no way out, I'm going to make a way out. This going to be amazing when I do it. And I'm going to send who? The Lion of Judah, the Lion of Yehuda, my son, who you killed. Your ancestors said, let him die. And because I love you, that's why I'm sending to come get you. If that ain't powerful. Verse 11, the rock, as the scriptures say. Who is the rock? The chief cornerstone that was rejected by the builders. I'm sending him, who you rejected, who you killed, even all of us. We done rejected the truth about him for years. If you Google it, on Good Times in the 70s, they did that episode where Michael painted that picture of what he was calling a black Jesus. And his mama came in and was tripping with him, like, where my picture of Jesus go? The European. Woo, woo. And he like, mama, that ain't what he looked like. And he read Revelation. His feet is burnt brass, his eyes red, hair of wool. And the mama on there was like, okay, I'm gonna let you keep the picture up for a day, but then my Messiah going up. Around that same time, Jet Magazine, which was bigger then, put a picture of a black Jesus on the cover. I went back and I tell you, I don't know why my mind be where it be, but I went back and researched other publications around that time about that. Black people was in an uproar about them painting the Messiah black. Black people was in an uproar about Good Times and Jet showing that black Messiah. Although in the Bible it says that he will have feet of polished brass if burned, as if it was burned in the furnace. I know Catholics, Europeans, who will say the Messiah was a brown-skinned man. That's known. Yet black people were the most in the uproar about it. Why? Because we done forgot our maker, as it said in the last chapter, chapter 9. We don't consider. We so beat down in captivity and slavery, we don't even believe we could even be of something so amazing. Yet we don't know. We the only people on the earth who don't know where he come from at all. Y'all said the children of the West, the children who done went on them waters gonna be amazed. And that amazement is happening now. They shall be amazed and fly as a bird out of Egypt. You're gonna fly like a bird out of Egypt, as a dove out of the land of the Assyrians. And I will restore them to their houses. You're going to come out of bondage. You're going to come out of Assyria. Think, the Europeans who in what we call Jerusalem today, they're not in ancient Israel. Ancient Israel is like the entire Middle East. Know that on the map. But the people over there today, they ain't came out of bondage. No, don't let them fool you with the Holocaust. They wasn't in nobody bondage. Hitler had a window of treating them people bad. Before then, they always been the richest in Germany. They were the richest all through Europe, London, France, all that still. Today, still. They ain't come from no Assyria. No. They didn't come from no house of bondage. No. No. Y'all said, and I will restore them to their houses. Europe put them people over there. That's why the Muslims over there fight them so much. These Europeans that help put you here, you not the people of the Bible. Where the Muslim fall off at is, he won't admit who he is though, because he rather deal with them European Jews than to have to say you Negroes is the people. He'll be judged for that. Can't tell a half truth with y'all. That ain't how I go. Y'all say, I will restore them to their houses. Yeah, y'all like, that's the amazement, because you can't affirm freedom. Y'all like, I'm gonna affirm it though. Ain't the most I said, I'm gonna affirm it though. Ephraim has compassed me with falsehoods. Y'all telling lies. And the house of Israel and Judah with ungodliness. All y'all really bogus, but Ephraim, you egregiously bogus at this time. See, y'all like, nah. All y'all bogus. But now, the Most High knows them, and they shall be called the Elohim's holy people. This is what he's doing now. The lion is roaring. The Most High is calling his people. And as we read in Psalms, anybody who fear Yah, the truth, he calling. If you stuck on the lie, you burn. Now, there will be some exceptions, because there's some people who know Jesus and know doctrine, but their life is in accordance to what it's supposed to look like. They know how to treat their brother. They're not gossiping and backbiting and they ain't showing respect to person. I know people like that who don't know nothing about the readings of the Bible. I know some people who live a life that's congruent to what the Bible say it's supposed to be. So there will be some exceptions. But the people that's too caught up in the Babylon, America, no. Y'all said they're going to be called my holy people once again. This ain't the first time. As you see in the King James, it said it's faithful with the saints. That word get thrown around in religion. Saints, Kodesh, something sacred, ceremonially or morally. Angel, a saint, a sanctuary, sacred, ceremonially or morally. You can't be sacred, ceremonially or morally, and you partaking in a doctrine that's false. And we could poke holes in the doctrine, but it's you can't be sacred, man. So when you hear people talk about the saints, never forsake the gathering of the saints. Who is the saints? You hear that in this awakening. Never forsake the gathering of the saints. Who is the saints? I know you people through Zoom. I don't know that you know saint for real. And it's funny, the closer I got to certain people, I realized you definitely ain't no saint. Not the way you all be moving. That's a lie. But those of you who we all grew up together, you see is some people on here who you may not know. Them is people who showed and proved. And I believe in their lives, I done showed and proved. Like, okay, I can't pump fake it. Those of you who know me know I ain't pump faking because you know how I used to be. See, some of the people on here don't know the old me. Those of you who know me know that, like, no, this is a whole different man. Hallelujah. Every time you think that, say, wow, the Most High is amazing. Look at what he turned that man into. Because he was reckless. Know that. Be 100 about it. Man, we trying to be sacred, man. Oxstone, man, to your point about the angels in the garden, and we gonna get up out of here. Hallelujah. It's said in multiple places, but in Ezekiel chapter 31, I'm gonna bring this up just cause, right? In Ezekiel chapter 31, verse 1, it says, "And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, and the 1st day of the month, that the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying," so he gave us a time. It was in the 11th year. I believe it's the 11th year of now in Ezekiel, Jerusalem has fallen to Babylon. So now we're about 100 years out from where we were just at Hosea, just to give you a timeline. And he says, in the 11th year, the 3rd month, Yah came and said, "Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his multitude, whom art thou like in thy greatness?" So we know he ain't talking about Egypt because the Babylonians destroyed Egypt before they destroyed Jerusalem. So he's using this he's using this to relay a message of something. Speak to the leader of bondage. Behold, and then he say, the Assyrian. Now, mind you, y'all just said the Assyrian ain't gonna be your king. And Hosea, he told Ephraim, the Assyrian is gonna be your king, right? And Ezekiel, 100 years later, he said again, the Assyrian was what? He was a cedar in Lebanon with fair branches, a tree, and with a shadowing shroud, and of an high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs, a big tree. The waters made him great. Waters represent doctrine, the false doctrine, the wickedness of the world made this Assyrian great. Just follow me. The deep set him up on a high. The deep, now mind you, the deep is where hell lay. How do you know? Because in Genesis chapter 1, what did he say? Darkness was up on the face of the deep. The deep is the deepest, lowest parts of the earth. This is where hell is at. This is why man can't make it to the bottom of the ocean. Man talk all that nonsense, but he don't really want to go to the bottom of the ocean. He don't want to knock on the door. Hell. Anyway, the deep set him up on high with her rivers running around about the plants. The deep, hell, the darkness represented misery, destruction, confusion. This is what powers the Assyrian, this big cedar tree in Lebanon. And sent out her little rivers unto all the trees of the field. These are the doctrines, the little rivers. They all come from the deep. They all come from the devil, the Assyrian, the demons, the fallen angels. They all the devil. Know that. Ain't no one devil. They all the devil. The little rivers unto all the trees of the field. But this main tree was a cedar of Lebanon, the biggest one. He called it the Assyrian, right? Verse 5. Therefore his height, the Assyrian, this cedar of Lebanon, the main tree, was exalted above all the trees of the field. He the biggest one. All the demons and the fallen angels could be called devils, but you do have a main one, the one who Yah initially kicked out of the Shemaim for his sin, who was the reason why darkness was over the face of the deep. Understand? I think that's Genesis 1:3. Always understand, when you read the Bible, matter of fact, that's Genesis 1:2. When you read the Bible, the first scripture say, in the beginning, Elohim, or the Most High, created heaven and the earth. Bet. It was perfect. Verse 2, and darkness was up on the face of the deep, confusion, misery. Everything wasn't perfect. Why? Because within verse 1 and 1, 2 of the Bible we read, the devil was kicked out of heaven. Now, I don't say that right there, right? But when you read the Bible, you realize, wow, that had to happen right there. So that go to show you, that's another thing about religion. Oh, I'm just stepping the devil under my feet. In Jesus' name, I'm going to beat the devil. No, you not. No, you not. Boy, the devil been here since Genesis 1:2, plotting on man. Boy, the devil, it's crazy, but we don't even realize that. Wickedness took over immediately. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, the Most High created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:2, darkness was on the face of the deep. That show you how immediately wickedness took over in this creation. Verse 5, therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied, and his branches became long because of the multitude of waters, the doctrines, the wickedness that he was teaching. That's what the water is representing. Just like righteous water, living water, shout out to my Ak Yahusha, represents the word of Yah. The wickedness of this world, these wicked doctrines that made him bigger than every tree in the field. The devil is behind all wickedness of the world, or the devils, I should say, but they all trace back to a source. When he shot forth. Verse 6, all the fowls of heaven make their nests in the bowls. That could be birds, but fowls of heaven, when you read the Bible, also represent angels. All the fallen angels make their nest in his bowls, in his tree. They all do his bidding. And under his branches did all the beasts of the field bring forth their young, animals and man. Under his branches today, and under his shadow dwelt all great nations today. The world is under confusion, under misery. The world don't honor you, Israel. That's the confusion. The world don't honor Yah. The doctrines of this world that come from the devil are a shadow over all nations today. That's why when you hear them talk about Mystery Babylon, it's not a one place. Mystery Babylon is the system that governs the world today, everywhere. Verse 7, thus was he fair in his greatness, the Assyrian, in the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters. He was fair in his greatness, in the length of his branches. He was a big tree. He was strong. Verse 8, the cedars in the garden of God. What garden is that? The trees in the garden of Yah could not hide him. No, because the devil was a really great angel. And the only tree that was as big and as glorious as him in the garden was the tree of life. And this levels to angels. So I'm not gonna say the devil was there are other angels that were stronger than him. When you read like some of the books of Enoch and he detailed angels, the Messiah is the strongest outside of Yah in the heaven. The Holy Ghost or the Ruach HaKodesh is an angel. It's right next to the Messiah. After that, you have leagues of angels. But he said the cedars in the garden of Yah could not hide him. The fir trees were not like his, the angels. He ain't talking about no regular tree. The other, it was some angels in there who weren't like his boughs. And the chestnut tree was not like his branches, nor any tree, any angel or fallen angel outside of the tree of life in the garden of Elohim was like unto him in his beauty. And that's how we get to. And it's other spots. That's just a quick way to get to the trees in the garden. At least some of them was the angels and the fallen angels. So when the serpent came and got Eve and took her to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it wasn't a tree, it wasn't an apple, it wasn't actual fruit. It was a fallen angel who taught her something that she taught Adam, and Yah said, I told you don't be over there talking to him. Now you got to go. Hallelujah. We gonna end there. Any questions or comments about any of this before we go? That's the Eve. Hallelujah, man. Y'all working the work for us right now. I'm thankful for all of y'all. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom to everybody. Anything anybody want to add? Any questions? I hope you caught all that, Patrick. I was moving kind of fast.
No, you good. You good. I was just hoping you'd share with everyone else because I'll never forget the day you shared it with me because, I was still pretty ignorant, even though I went to some Catholic school for a bit of my life, when we broke down that story, I was like, all right, this just goes along with everything else that we had talked about in the garage, connecting the dots. So, Toda, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Hallelujah. If it ain't nothing else to add, man, would anybody like to pray us out? Take us home in prayer. The floor is yours. I would ask you, Yahusha. I feel like you don't do nothing but pray, though. It's up to you if you're up to it, though. I don't know if you're busy either.
No, I got you. I can do it.
Hallelujah. If everybody else cool, then it's good to see you all, man. Take us home, Mark. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to all right, we just want to put our hearts and minds on the Most High. Father Yah, first and foremost, we just want to thank you for using Dre as a vessel today on your holy convocation to bring forth the word out of the book of Hosea, out of other passages as well in the Psalms. Father Yah, right now, just ask for blessings for him and for his family that he continues to do the work that you've called him to do. Father Yah, just everyone who's connected to him, through this platform and through his friends and family that join him on the weekly basis. Father Yah, I ask that you just continue to be with them. Just put a strong reverence for the word and a strong reverence and a fear for you Father God, in all of our hearts, and just let us be corrected and reproved in the things that we need to be corrected and reproved on, Father God. Right now, we just want to thank you for the loving kindness that you've shown us, um, for just the long sufferings that you've also shown us, and the mercifulness which you've shown us, Father God. And thank you for just letting the word really, letting Dre, using Dre to reflect how the word is really us today, and how we must continue to be better, Father God, and just continue to encourage one another to just follow and do your will. Right now, we just want to continue to ask that all those that are without, Father God, that you will cover them, continue to be with them, and just uplift everyone and let them know that there is hope, that there is salvation through the Messiah, and through just taking part of the offering, with them laying down his life, Father God. So we just thank you for all these things. We ask for forgiveness of any of our sins, any of our transgressions, and any of our trespasses that we may have committed, and ask that we can just be cleansed daily in the renewal of our mind, our heart, and of our spirits, Father God. So we thank you. We love you. We ask all these things in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. So be it. Hallelujah.
So be it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
All praises. Hallelujah.
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 Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Have a good day.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Mama Speed, Shabbat Shalom. Hope you have a good day. Shabbat Shalom, Lauren. Shabbat Shalom, Mitch. Shabbat Shalom, Trey. See you soon. Mitch, your hand went up. You got something you want to say before we go? You good?
No, I was just saying bye.
Oh, okay. Shalom.